Hello and welcome to LCK Challengers. I am Valdez, with me is Wolf, and we are casting live from the Gen.G esports studio for the epic marathon, super awesome fun day of Challengers. How are you doing today, Wolf?
I'm doing great. Well, we got a decent crowd here in the audience today as well, considering it's a red day, we call it in Korea, where it's a official holiday. People are off on Monday. Yesterday was Lunar New Year, as a lot of you know who tuned into the broadcast yesterday. We were wearing the traditional garb and all that, but it's been a long week of Korean League of Legends, right? We had Challengers at the beginning of the week, then we had our first week of LCK. We filmed Pog State late last night. Yeah. I did the Monty Wolf show this morning before this. So it's a lot of League of Legends, but I think based on what we saw from Challengers last week and the Challengers players who were promoted into the LCK, I'm excited to see some more, right? Like see some more of the depth of what feels like in a weird way, like a different region. Like it's not a different region, right? But in some ways, like the meta is a little bit different. The playstyle is very different. So even though this is LCK Challengers, it feels like we're diving into something where we learn some new play styles and strategies.
Yeah, even when we first started LCK at the beginning of last week, it was like, well, this is what Challengers are doing. So it's kind of like this, as you were mentioning, kind of a separate group of people that kind of have their own thoughts, when in reality, it's like, it's all part of the same team. They probably have similar thoughts. So hoping that it's not a lot of Lucian and Zeri today. Maybe we get to have a little bit of the
Heimerdinger, maybe?
Heimerdinger, the Ezreal Karmas coming out here. A little bit of diversity in the bottom lane in terms of champion picks. I think that would be very nice, especially because if we did 9 games of Zeri versus Lucian, I think I would lose my mind today. So anything but that would be nice. More Zac would be cool as well. We did have Zac one time yesterday. It was Cuz who did pick that up. So more stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm hoping for some more Kassadin to get through the drafts. I'd like to see, just in general, like maybe some more Graves sneaking through. Graves seems really strong in solo queue. Like every time I turn on a pro player stream, like there's a Graves in the game no matter what, but he's just not in the pro games. I think he's just a strong solo queue champion right now, but because you can carry with Graves pretty hard if you get ahead. His ult is amazing to finish off. If your team is not that coordinated, but you're like, I shoot my Graves ult super far over that wall and kill that guy, like, yeah, it's pretty strong in solo queue. Maybe we'll see some of him, because I miss Graves. It's been a little while. Other stuff, like I'd like to see more Sylas, actually. Like it's creeping him back in a little bit. I think it's a fun champ to watch right now, especially Sylas versus Syndra, Sylas versus Victor. That matchup could be pretty fun.
Yeah, and of course, if you guys are new to the Challenger broadcast, we are going to have a little bit more of a laid-back feel, right, compared to the LCK is more of a homey feel. We also have the chat available, so, hey chat, hey casters, what's up? Yeah, we're going to be interacting with you guys if you have questions or if you have comments about the game. Watch out for Nightbot. He's very sensitive.
Careful with your caps.
I think it's like 8 caps allowed, and then that's it. Want to mix in some small words as well as your big words. Hello, Papa Smithy.
Papa Smithy. I knew we were. I asked you before.
Hello,
like,
famous.
Who are we going to get the cameo today of? Like we had Medic, we've had some other casters come through, but we got Papa Smithy. Rate the player's hair. Oh hell yeah, I will. Here we go.
Isn't it? I mean, I don't know. I feel like the Challenger hair is not as good as the LCK hair.
I'm going to have to strongly disagree. Have you seen that the Challengers players who went to the LCK, first of all?
Yeah.
I mean, Envy's hair is out there. I wouldn't call him a Challengers player per se, but he's definitely up there in the crazy hairstyles. We got a lot of interesting cuts, but let's talk about the matches we didn't broadcast on the LCK Global Challenger stream here. Some of these results. Did see pretty much everything as expected, except that D plus Kia dropped a game to Nongshim, but that's kind of expected-ish. Like, it's not that crazy considering that Nongshim looked very good on their matches on Monday.
Yeah, Nongshim pretty good. Everything else was a 2-0, which is pretty interesting to see. Generally in Challengers, it's like, well, you win one game and then you make some big mistake in game 2 or something like that. It's usually pretty back and forth, but not for days 3 and 4. DRX getting a 2-0 home Life Esports, KT, T1 all getting the wins. T1 over Kwangdong, not too surprising, as T1 is also very, very strong.
Yeah. So here are our standings. You can see we have a pretty clear top and bottom here. It's obviously early days. Each team has played only 2 games, but T1 and D plus Kia are big favorites right now. I'd say Nongshim is a close second in that tier list, and then Hanwha and KT having a little bit easier opponents so far here. I think Kwangdong Freaks and Gen.G stronger than this standing shows. Same with DRX as well, who did lose in that opening game against Nongshim. Bit of an upset there. Live Sandbox and Bro kind of struggling a little
Yeah. Yeah, if you were watching Live Sandbox, they did win yesterday. Spoiler. If you were going to watch that VOD, sorry about that. But Live Sandbox, they did get the win. But before that, after their loss to D Plus and LCK, I know a lot of people were like, well, what does their Challengers team look like? Well, it's not looking too much better. Let's take a look at Week 1 key points. The bottom lane, it says Lunami. And, of course, that is the combination of Lucian and Nami in the bottom lane is having a lot of success.
Yeah, the bottom part there above the win rate just says that it's the Lucian Nami bottom comp win rate. As you guys probably could figure out, 10-4, 4-1 for the challengers, right? So 10-4 in LCK. So we saw Zeri win 3 times, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Like, I've been counting it. It's not that many.
Yeah.
In LCK so far, and it has not been very good into the Lucian Nami. It's been a very dominant lane. I expect that to continue here in Challengers.
Yeah, I would expect it. And yeah, just looking a little bit at chat as well as we're going, but taking a look at today's matchup, Kwangdong Freaks up against Live Sandbox, then we got KT up against Bro, and then DRX up against Hama Life Esports. So you'll be missing, you know, Nongshim, you'll be missing T1, you'll be missing D+. These teams are probably going to play tomorrow.
That's right.
Tomorrow should be pretty stacked in terms of that, but we do have a couple of teams here that are doing quite well. We do have Hama Life Esports and KT, who both started off the season 2-0, so going to be looking to see if they can continue with their streaks today.
Yeah. I noticed a lot of you guys in the chat are talking about how you wish there was a cast of the other games. There are some co-streams of those in Korean at the moment, so I think we actually have like a graphic for it later. We'll list some of those off so you guys can find where to watch them. One day we might have someone co-streaming that in English too, but at the moment, all of us are working during those days. So Kwangdong versus Live Sandbox, you know, we talked about the good start of the 2-0 teams we'll be playing later on. It's a bit of a rockier start for these two. I know a lot of people hoping to catch Dangmu playing for Live Sandbox, but as I mentioned before, the Academy series hasn't started yet, and she's still listed as a substitute for Live Sandbox, but isn't on the starting roster tonight either. I say tonight, it's 2 p.m. Starting early.
Yeah, this is like my normal wake-up time. Esports. On the esports schedule, but not allowed to have an esports schedule nowadays as we are working 6 days a week. Take a look at this, Lancer. I noticed Kevin did point this out in the chat. Lancer is going to be starting over Illima here for the first game, and you know what? I mean, Kwangdong Freaks, they're starting off 0-2. They're going to make a change, but having Illima subbed out, pretty interesting.
Yeah, pretty interesting. You know, I was looking into Lancer a little bit last week just to see, you know, is there a chance, like, is it likely he'll play? And it seemed like he wasn't really even getting that much scrim time back then. So this is pretty bizarre. But again, Kwangdong Freaks changing things up a lot. We saw them, you know, swap even out June, their key support player in the LCK for Moham. So not shocked by this too much. For Live Sandbox's roster here, we thought Vincenzo had a pretty weak performance, to be honest. And then obviously Diablo really struggled when he was playing Zeri into the Lucian, and was dove multiple times, and just overall had a rough start to the season. But he's 15 years old. He's very young, and I think that the talent is definitely going to come eventually for him. So see how he does against Bull and Andil in the bottom side here, because I think every young player wants to have the win to kind of redeem themselves. And starting off 0-2 in a season like this when you're this young, never going to feel great.
You know you're tired when you read Diablo wrong. Did you read that wrong?
Wait, did I say
Pretty
Diablo?
sure. I think it's pretty... Easy, Diablo, right?
Did I say Diablo?
I don't know. I don't think so.
What did I say?
Maybe I'm too tired to even notice. Cool. Here we are. Matchup
You scared
history.
me. I'm like, what did I say, guys?
I don't know. Marshball is calling you out. Okay, 2021.
Oh, you
spring
read the
and
chat. I
summer.
thought you were just saying
I was
that.
reading the chat. No.
I was like, whoa, Brendan, like, what's going on?
No, I would never call you out like that. Maybe I would. Let's take a look here at the head-to-head, the matchup. They are exactly even, 6-6. So you'll note that they did go 2-0 and 2-0 either way in 2022 summer. Imagine calling out your coworker. Yeah, I would never do that. Here we go. We are into the draft. So right into the gameplay, Wolf.
Yeah, Heimerdinger. I said I wanted to see a little bit more of him in Challengers, but I guess Live Sandbox think he's pretty good and won't be allowing that. We saw a lot of bans on Heimerdinger in Challengers last week too, more than we do see in the LCK. Ash gone. Now, you don't have to ban Varus and Ash and Heimerdinger, but they just might, because we're seeing a lot of prio lanes here set up for blue side.
Yeah, the
Marshball
karma.
calling himself out. All right.
It happens. It happens. This is generally why chat is not on while you cast, because it is quite distracting. But
Yeah.
we will have some fun with it. And a lot of stuff open here, especially in the jungle. But still, we are going to have the Varus first picked.
Oh, I got really excited, but it's just going to be a troll hover into the very, very standard boring Maokai, but that's okay. He's going to be locked in here. As Varus without a Karma, without a Heimerdinger, without an Ash on its own here, it definitely can still be strong. We've even seen Varus Jhin work, for example, but very unusual to see the priority here on this rather than the Zeri, when so much of Zeri's counters in terms of the 2v2 have already been removed. Let's see what he wants to pair with this. Could just be the old school Nautilus Zeri counter. Didn't see that one coming.
Yeah, pretty interesting. I was thinking, you know, maybe something like a Braum, especially when you're looking at the Maokai, but as you're mentioning, it's very good into the Zeri. And then this Cassante priority is pretty interesting. We're seeing a lot in the LCK. You pick jungle alongside of your bot lane in the first 3 picks, but not the case here, Wolf.
Yeah, definitely a bit of an early prio here to make sure they get it. Speaking of Braum, it's like that is going to be the response here with the Zeri to the Nautilus. I think it's a good answer since Nautilus has come out here and can block a lot of that damage. And is going to be good in team fights into the melee Nautilus engage and the Cassante. We've been seeing so many Enchanter supports and just like AD supports as well, just range supports in general right now, that Nautilus is kind of rare. So we just see the Braum pop back up. Wukong, very strong, obviously, into the Zeri if you can get that lockdown, if you can avoid the Maokai ult. As this has been really common too, the Fiora ban against the Zeri comp, because side laning top lanes are going to give you the ability to buy time in a game where Zeri is struggling through the early phases to get second, third, sometimes even fourth items online. Will be the Camille also taken away here. So Jax, still a possibility, but we're seeing the Gnar into the Cassante so much more right now.
Yeah, you know, Huni was talking a little bit like about that yesterday. We were asking him about this matchup, and he just, you know, Gnar just very stable. You're just able to get ahead through your range, and then your mid game is very strong against the Cassante. So it's quite often the counter pick. And they banned away 2 of the, you know, main split pushers, and it seems like Dahyuk doesn't want to go for the Jax today. So yeah, it's standard top lane. And, ooh, Cleaver going to be hopping onto the Akali.
Yeah, interesting Akali pick here. We've seen the Akali very rarely blinded here in the LCK and Challengers, but also more often against the pushing bottom lanes, not with them. All right. Lee Sin again. I believe Courage played this actually last week. I think Courage was, in my opinion, the strongest player for Kwangdong Freaks' Challengers team last week. Like, looked like a standout player, really smart pathing. As we will see, the Sylas that I've also been hoping to see more of here in response to the Akali can be a fun matchup in the early stages too. And it's going to be all about the scaling, I think, here for Live Sandbox in this game. Can obviously do a lot with this Maokai pick early to punish the Varus lane if you can get ahead of the curve on that Lee Sin. There's a lot of damage too with Lee Sin into a you know, Zeri Braum lane. You can kind of get trapped down there with Maokai if he roots you, and then you're just stuck on the bottom side of the map. So you got to be careful about how you want to play this one out.
Yeah, these are the non-swapped champions. We are not having support Silas in this game against support Lee Sin, so just keep that in mind. This is just the pick order. But yeah, pretty interesting stuff. The Zeri Braum coming back into this one. We get to see Akali versus Silas once again. Very strong skirmishy 2v2 mid-jungle for Kwangdong Freaks. Going to be looking to try to get their Akali ahead very comfortably. And yeah, I don't know, Wolf. I think, especially in challengers, I would favor Kwangdong's comp in this one. What do you think?
I like that assessment because I think if you remove the nameplates here, I would say I like Live Sandbox's comp more because I think it has more stability and potential towards the mid to late game. But in challengers and in a meta with ever since durability, to be honest, since that was released to the game, we have seen very snowbally gameplay. Something that Faker has even addressed recently on his streams, that he's a little bit unhappy with the state of solo queue's snowballiness on the durability patch. I think getting that Varus ahead and playing around the early mid here for Kwangdong Freaks is going to be super powerful, especially because of the Cassante priority and how he can stop some of those Gnar engages later on pretty easily with his dash and his ult. So I think if these were the Kwangdong Freaks and Live Sandbox teams from the LCK, I'd be like, oh, Live Sandbox looking pretty solid here. But
yeah,
not to be the case in this Challengers region. League, rather.
Well, here we go, guys. This is game 1 of the first series today of 3. I hope you're strapped in. You've got your popcorn, your coffee, whatever it takes to make it through the entire broadcast, because that's what we have as well. And you could join us. It's going to be a fun day.
So is it just me, or did we lose the music?
Yeah.
Chat was mentioning that as well, so I think
he was talking about chat, which in that case, you know, tell your friends about the Challenger League broadcast, LCK CL Global 2023.
Chat, let us know if the sound is working for you, because it's not working for us right now, and I hope it's working for you. But we will see that it is lethal tempo here for Bull this time around, so it does look like it is going to be on hit Varus. Just looking for extra damage here rather than going for the lethality variation.
The sound is fine for chat.
Sound is fine for chat, so I'll get it fixed for us.
Get on that, Wolf. We need to hear this. And yeah, you guys were talking about, you know, if Bull went for Poke, he should be banned from League of Legends. I mean, that's one way to look at it, obviously in a very extreme light. But we see a lot of Arses in the LCK going Poke. Not going to be the case here for Bull. You know, a lot of extremely low range on the enemy team. And obviously they have a Braum, so I really like the on-hits as well. It does make sense, and it feels like Bull is on the same page with all you guys. So there you go. We're all on the same page there. And yeah, challengers, you know, sometimes you come in with a plan, and unfortunately you step through the shredder on your way through mid-game, and you're like, oh wait, where did our plan go? And then you have to pull in plan B, haha. Live Sandbox's support. But other than that, like, it will depend on how these teams play out their plan.
Yeah,
know?
For sure. So far this early game here, level 2 hit first for Diablo and plan B. And this means that Bull and Andal are just going to have to wait for those 2 minions to come through to stack theirs up. Not seeing a level 3 gank in this game on the bottom side because of the Braum and the Nautilus. Very difficult to try to, even with a small edge like this in the bottom lane gank. And Nautilus is okay. Courage.
Yeah, he's getting in there. He's level 3. He's got red buff. He's trying to force that flash away from Vincenzo. Not going to happen, but he is still going to push him out of his own jungle and take the red buff. So counter jungling not dead in 2023. Lee Sin still being very annoying.
Yeah, I think the counter jungle nerfs, I still don't like them per se in terms of what it means for the game itself. But I also think that they may have been overstated in terms of its impact on the pro games, because so far we're seeing it actually happen quite a bit. Is nice check here.
Wait, but Vincenzo didn't back.
He is now.
Wait, but he ran all the way around after getting chunked by Lee Sin in the hopes that maybe Courage would just run away?
I think perhaps he was hoping that, I mean, this is a guess, and your guess is as good as mine as we have a trade here, is that he was going to come over and identify whether Courage was taking his Krug so he could alter his pathing, and also potentially, if Dahyuk was under less pressure, maybe Dahyuk could come over there and help out if Courage was lower health. But should have known the health, obviously, from their last exchange. So definitely delaying his pathing quite significantly. But he's not going to lose a scuttle for it or anything like that. But at least knows that they were topside, that he stayed topside, and means that Diablo can sit down here comfortably in the lane.
Yeah, we did see Dahyuk take Fleet Footwork into Lancer. I think it's just going to be better for taking more aggressive trades. And Dahyuk is definitely that kind of player from when we saw him last week, so not too surprising for me.
Yeah, Fleet Footwork is...
That, so.
Yeah, I mean, I think Fleet Footwork is just a really underrated rune. It's very strong at helping you in the laning phase, but it also can help you obviously set up for team fights later on with that extra movement. As we lost our sounds again.
Yeah, sound is gone again.
But I hope it's good for you guys. I'm sure it probably is.
Photon doing really good stuff over in LEC as is expected. Would have been nice to still have him here in Korea, but not the case.
Yeah.
We haven't heard any player hair ratings yet.
No, we haven't really. I mean, we've had obviously the players in the lower, you know, like the lower player cams, but we haven't had too many great shots. I mean, Cleaver's hair at the moment, he's definitely got a little bit of curly action going on there, but he's also got his bangs cut just at the right level above his glasses, not pulling a Moham or anything like that. As fight for the Drake. As we do see Guangdong have a bit of control here. Vincenzo very late to arrive.
It's going to be interesting to see how this one does go down. It is a 4-on-4, but Cleaver is isolated. The rest of the team not able to get on in there as Liv Sandbox are just going to bully him 4v1 and take this Drake, I believe. Yep, they should still get it as they do have the advantage around this objective.
A little bit of greed here for Guangdong. They had the faster setup, but they started the Drake instead of actually using their control over these choke points to actually push Liv Sandbox out, take some aggressive trades. So remember, this is a Varus. It's, you know, the lethal tempo Varus, and he isn't going for an early, you know, Dirk or anything like that. He doesn't have that much damage, but he still does have some element of poke. When you have this much control, probably could have actually just tried to use the choke point instead of rushing this Drake earlier, because health bar advantage slightly in favor of Liv Sandbox here. Positionally, they don't have any sort of edge, but they had a fifth member, which was the Dragon. Pretty strong here at 6 minutes, and he did a ton of damage to Guangdong Freaks and helped cut Cleaver out there for Liv Sandbox to take, and Dragon. So what looked like a good start here for Guangdong gets turned on its head.
Yeah, definitely a little bit of miscommunication, so Liv Sandbox feeling pretty good about that. As you do see Lancer is doing a very good job of just pushing this in pretty early on. He is able to get this plate already at 7 minutes into the game, as we have been seeing a lot of this action, but you know, these trades are going to go this way, right? The Nautilus will hook, and Plan B on the Braum is just going to jump in front, put up the door, and prevent a lot of the Varus damage. So what ends up happening is that Andal takes damage, and you know, they get like a little bit of push in the lane, but that's just about it. That's what Braum does. He neutralizes a lot of the aggression.
Yeah, he certainly does. He's fallen significantly behind in experience somehow, finding himself a full level behind Andal here. So we'll see if he can catch up in that regard, but not having his level 6 could be quite impactful actually for an upcoming fight. I think we'll have the Herald fight pretty soon this game, so he's significantly behind in that regard, so it could be impactful, but they may just simply try to farm bottom instead because it is the Zeri lane, and you don't have to get Herald early. You already have that extra 5 minutes of buffer time for your Zeri's items with the first Infernal Drake in your pocket. Because I think the Observer is also highlighting he is level 4 right now, so won't be hitting that anytime soon. Meaning, making it even less likely that they will contest. I say that, and we did see Diablo thinking about it. Some happy feeding. Deciding, are we going to lane? Because he's going to have to give up this whole wave that was just pushed in by Bull right now if he does go. So now you're really priced in. Like, I lost the whole wave. Better force this to work.
Yeah, I think they should be able to. So I think that was his real flash. No, that didn't look like a Hex flash.
Yeah, that was kind of weird.
So, okay. So he's able to get in there. Shelly rather is having a little bit of trouble around that pit. And so, like you said, Live Sandbox, they commit to this pretty heavily, and they have not started it.
K-Ramen early today. We did see, obviously, that Diablo, while losing that wave to the tower bottom side, does pick up some of those mid minions, so it's not falling like extremely behind or anything like that. It's going to rush back down faster. Then we see Bull coming over here as Guangdong Freaks will start up this Herald. Guti does have the Chains of Corruption stolen and wants to try to use it here to maybe set up something for Vincenzo.
All right, here we go. Guti is trying to do his best as Vincenzo is here as well. Cleaver, he has an Oblivion Orb only. He's not going to be doing too much damage. The hook does come in, but take a look at Courage's health bar. He's able to survive, actually, as a massive Gnar into the wall, but he's alone. As, you know, what happened, Live Sandbox, to committing heavily to the objective that didn't quite pan out as their bottom lane went back to bot.
They went back to bot, but Bull can handle this by himself. He's Varus. He's okay. Plan B doesn't have level 6, so he's not that vulnerable, even though they're going to hide in the brush here, which got our observers a little excited for a second. There's just nothing really they can do cross-map here, and you both sent your bottom duo down early and committed hard when you didn't have any sort of positional advantages, which is seemingly off the back of Guti having this Varus ult here and Dahyuk having Narvar. So that's the idea, but like, this was a very messy fight. Vincenzo gets a big ult, but there's no follow-up damage. Where's your Zeri? Not here. And
yeah. Also, Guti's got Chains of Corruptions, as you mentioned, into Lee Sin, Akali, and Cassante, which all three of them dodged it. Yes, the Maokai ult hit, but like, you know,
yeah, you would think
not going to get too much value for Guti. And
yeah, you would have thought that
just went in there and died.
The synergy between those two ultimates could have been a lot better there. There was high potential for sure, but yeah, not enough damage at this stage in the game. And see what timing Guti can finish his Rod of Ages. He did pick up a kill, obviously earlier on in the game. So if he grabs that one, you know, say 13 minutes or so, it's going to be huge for the Sylas's ability to get level 16. Very strong item on the Sylas, makes him tankier too. Grabbing that extra health, and you know, the other stats that you're going to get, the passive, even having this Catalyst right now, very nice for him. And I don't want to say this game is, you know, doomed or anything by any means, but Guangdong Freak's definitely getting a big gold lead now, despite losing the first straight.
It's pretty massive. Both junglers are here. As you can see, that Courage would love to drop this Rift Herald, especially for the Lee Sin. It is very annoying to be just carrying this around. You want to use it as fast as possible so you can get rewards back. As another 2v2 fight in the mid lane. This is what I was talking about. They have excellent skirmishing power on the side of Guangdong Freaks, as they should win that mid 2v2. The bottom fight as well, also going in favor of Guangdong Freaks. Double kill for Cleaver, and now we do have the Zeri trying to have her moment. She might get a couple of kills, yes she will, but eventually she goes down, and now that's 3 kills onto the Akali. So an Akali moment, a little bit of a Zeri moment, but still very heavily in Guangdong's favor.
I think very heavily in Guangdong's favor, as you say, and the Zeri picking up those 2 kills is very critical, especially the last one that he does get, because it's huge for how much money he's got now this early on in the game. Look at his damage in that fight. It's definitely a Zeri moment, but we usually define a Zeri moment as the moment she gets some kills and gets online, but this Zeri moment came at the cost of a lot of extra gold, a lot of extra control going over the side of Guangdong Freaks. And so much damage is done in this top 2v2 before things really even happen on the bottom side of this fight. No real value here on Vincenzo's ultimate. Guti just stuck there trying to get over the wall. Splash coming up, look at it, in like 5 seconds, 7 seconds maybe away from that. So almost gets out but can't get out, and
yeah.
It's a lot of money to the Akali.
Yeah, in a 2v2 situation, as the Maokai with 0 items against Lee Sin Akali, who just got 3 kills and just picked up Proto Belt before that fight, like, or maybe not before that fight, but she was still going to be a huge threat.
She was
right?
way ahead, right?
Yeah, and not what you're looking for to skirmish there. I mean, Courage missed 2 of his Qs that were pretty point blank, even one of them after he kicked, and still they were able to pretty safely and comfortably take the 2v2 without losing either of them. So definitely, Liv Sandbox just look a little bit lost, to be honest. Like, their macros all over the place. Some of the fights they're taking don't make sense. And Kwangdong Freaks, you know, they're also 0-2, but they're just kind of playing a calm game and understanding when they can fight.
Cleaver's positioning really good here.
They're going to go in for this one. The ultimate from Vincenzo, very, very nice. They finally take down Courage, but take a look at this Akali. Like, how are you going to do anything against her? Double kill, but now she is alone as the Gnar ultimate does go into the wall. They did not have Cassante here, and that is going to be a big difference maker from Dahyuk, who is able to clean up the end of that fight.
Well, feels like challengers to me, Valdez. Kwangdong didn't learn too much from their last Drake take attempt. I like the positioning there for the Akali, right? Cleaver is set up in a position where you can actually kind of lock the door on any sort of heavy collapse and can punish after the chains of corruption go down. So he's hoping, all right, we're going to have a big combo here. We're going to have a nice setup. The damage was kind of there for Bull. As watch this fight. Like, look how much Bull does in the back here. But it just isn't enough, unfortunately.
TP advantage.
TP advantage.
Totally
Dahyuk over here is going to get his Gnar bar at the end of this, too. Like, he basically wasn't even there. Yeah. TP advantage. Drake started a bit too early there without full control, and it's a slippery slope here to a comeback potentially for Liv Sandbox with now a 2 Drake advantage. The Zeri has 4 kills.
I said this last week, LCK Challengers plays a lot like LPL does sometimes, where it's like, we're just going to force this fight because we're ahead and we can outhand you. And I think Kwangdong were like, yeah, we're ahead, or Akali's fed. Like, if they want to fight, we can always fight here, yes. But, like, they're kind of ignoring some key points, namely positioning and also summoner diff that did come into the case on the latter half of that fight. Kwangdong, they're still in a good spot. They're still ahead, right? It's 16 minutes into the game, but yeah, they give up that Drake. They give Liv Sandbox a chance to come back in the game, and that's stuff that they would definitely like to clean up in the future.
It's a rough one, that's for sure. But I think it's still winnable for Kwangdong, right? And they have a gold lead still, but the question is, will Cleaver be able to have the same impact in later team fights that Diablo does? And that's with Diablo having a front line of this Maokai, potentially Mega Gnar, and the Silas, who can be very annoying, very tanky on the front line, can steal some critical ultimates here. The ultimates that he could steal are actually quite insane on the other side. Like, he can kick away, he can obviously get into the backline with Akali, he can Chains of Corruption to counter a fight. That layered, of course, with Vincenzo's ultimate can be pretty amazing peel for Diablo, who should be able to kind of skate around the back of the team fight and do tons of damage. And even with Bull going for Immortal Shield Bow and going for, you know, longer damage Varus here, not the poke, he's just not going to be doing the same, especially when he's this far behind in terms of gold. And that's not even considering Diablo's 2 cookies he could sell. Pick up +10.
Wow! Huge!
How much dude, it's been so long since they changed cookies. They used to sell for like 30, right? It was crazy.
Used to be way too much.
You could just get 60 gold from this, like, and the mana. Like, even if you sold it, you still got the extra mana. It was...
Yeah.
It was kind of broken.
Yeah. That was a very good change, for sure. As hook on to Radiant Virgin Maokai. Not what we're looking for out of Ondil, but it's fine because they're just trying to get some space here for the Rift Herald charge. Probably going to get a second one here as they are putting themselves in a position to get flanked, but Dahyuk not on Mega Gnar just yet. No second charge does come in, and Dahyuk just going to escort them out of the building like security is. Now the hook is going to go onto the Braum. That's not what you want to see as Ondil goes down. And this is a bit of a nasty fight here for Kwangdong. They're just trying to get out. The flash kick does come in out of Courage as he tries to disengage, and they will be able to, but okay, knock up onto the Zeri, but she's just a little bit too scary already with 2 items. And Kwangdong.
That was...
I don't know.
Like, the beginning of this where they push the Rift Herald through, grab mid-turret, and are looking for a second charge, it's ambitious, but it's not unrealistic, right? But then when you realize, oh no, I don't know where Gnar is, I think he's flanking, and then you see him coming over, you back out there, as they did. And everything about that is fine. Until Ondil decides, you know what if I just queued in? And then that's when everything goes wrong. Because look at this, they see Dahyuk, Lancer dashes away, and I was like, okay, If you freeze frame right here, fine. No, don't go in there. Just instantly plan B ults. The follow-up is there. Meganar is reached, of course, because he was given that extra charge from Andil, and he was already getting close to it, right? He was on the edge, starting to poke away, and just not the right call at this moment in time. If you had a traditional like scaling AD carry, like if this is a 2-item Aphelios or something, but yeah, maybe we engage on this Aphelios ult in. We have an Akali you can clean up, but you don't have a clean up AD carry yet. Varus might not ever be at that point this game, and Akali can't just go into a hooked Braum. It's just not the comp you're looking for.
Definitely some discussion in chat about the Akali pick into so many tanky members. I think it's fine from ahead, but definitely going to see some trouble in this situation, as, you know, is the problem.
Yeah,
right?
It's like
you're not always going to get ahead.
It's like what we were talking about when people asked us about the draft. I was like, well, I mean, I think Live Sandbox had the better draft, but will they execute it well? It's definitely going better for them right now, and I think the strengths of the draft are shining through now that they're starting to take a lead, not in gold, but in terms of these objectives. TP.
They're going to TP on top of the Meganar here. Cleaver needs to be careful as a very nice angle from Dahyuk. And now everybody on Kwangdong once again trying to just run away. The Maokai ult is going to catch the ball, and Braum lines it up as they lined up to avoid the Maokai ult. Everybody is in the Wombo combo chamber, though, as the Akali is popping off, as is Bull. And, I mean, what happens when you stack all the champions? I guess Kwangdong Freaks win. That was not the fight I was expecting. The Akali now has 8 kills. And it turns out the auto-attacking Varus is pretty good if he doesn't take any damage.
How are you guys feeling about that Akali now, Twitch chat?
I mean, what the hell?
Okay,
like, what is this?
Okay, look at Cleaver, by the way, at the beginning of this fight. Blast plant over here to the edge, avoids the Maokai ult, and then Dahyuk prevents him from getting into the fight. So for the first half of this combo, he's not even there.
You're CC'd the whole time.
Yeah. And Cleaver's like, well, look at all this. And then the all-out from Glancer just grabs everybody, and Cleaver's like, thank God I finally showed up to this fight. And as you mentioned, if Bull isn't really touched in a fight like this, he is going to do absurd amounts of damage.
Yeah. At first, it was Maokai into Braum, and I'm like, whoa, that was sick. But then it was Nautilus ultimate into the backline, plus Lee Sin kick, plus Cassante.
Yeah.
So, Live Sandbox stacked up, and they did not get the fight. And
Luke Valles, I used to commentate a game called Heroes of the Storm.
Every fight looks like that?
Every fight looked like that. and there's a lot of CC in the game right now, especially with these comps. Sometimes you wombo harder than the other guy, or you wombo second. And the Akali still has 20% health, and that's all you need.
Yeah. Well, if Sandbox, if you're going to do that, you are not going to win fights any longer. Your Zeri will not be able to do damage. Note that Diablo did pick up a stopwatch, which is going to delay his build quite a decent amount. It's going to be good if they fight like that again, I would say.
Someone in the chat asked a question. I actually love questions like this because they're fun and like we can be wrong or right. But somebody said if they had to ask us right now, who do we think wins this game? I actually still think Live Sandbox.
I'm going to say Kwangdong.
Because, I mean, I think Zeri is starting to well and truly get online. She has a stopwatch now. Like, I'm trusting in the Zeri. The Zonia's on Guti.
That's fair.
And obviously his Rod of Ages is completely stacked now very early, so he's hitting level 16 pretty quick this game. I think that amazing combo we saw from Kwangdong, as well as it was executed and how messy the fight was for Live Sandbox there, they should have lost that fight, I think. The better combo was there for Live Sandbox first. They also kept, it was a really good play from Dahyuk to keep Cleaver out of that fight for so long. Now give me your reasoning. Why you're just saying it's Akali, that's
all
it?
of your points are great, but I think you're also stuck in LCK mindset. Because when fights are this messy, I think the Akali and the Varus are going to do better. But let's see. Who knows? Honestly, it's hard to tell, as in the backline you see, in goes Cleaver, but he's alone. Cards didn't go in with him. He immediately gets burst down, and you know what? Live Sandbox, they get a clean fight this time, and they look pretty good, as meanwhile, Cassante's going 1v5. Not sure about that. Courage and Bull just decided to leave.
He forgot Courage was Lee Sin and not Akali. He's like, oh wait, you can't do anything after this. I mean, I think he dies no matter what, so use your combo, put them low so you can try to stop this Baron. There's zoning Courage out. He just is getting his smite back up, but they're just going to time him out.
Yeah, he's just going to leave. That's going to be Baron here for Live Sandbox.
So if I had to ask you right now who's going to win this game.
Ooh. It's hard to go away because, you know, if you look at this replay, like, Live Sandbox fought this pretty well. Like, they backed away from the flank from the top side, and then they just kind of...
Yeah.
They protected their Zeri really well, and that's really what the difference maker was.
Yeah, the positioning of Diablo really good here, and Courage and Cleaver do a really good job of trying to collapse and punish the Zeri retreat because they know, okay, if we get behind this pit, we can catch the Zeri here potentially and take her out, but they're zoned by Guti. So they protect the Zeri as she kites back, prevent those two assassins from getting into the backline there. Or would-be assassins, let's say. I wouldn't call Lee Sin an assassin, but in this case, he was trying to be and was failing.
I think Kwanglun's comp is a little bit of an issue if you are not on the same page of, like, Cleaver keeps going in by himself, but he can't be, like, engage Akali, right? He kind of needs to be cleanup / like assassin Akali, and Lancer needs to be the one that's engaging alongside of Andil. A lot of the other fights we've seen, Kwanglun, where they lose, it's like, okay, they just, okay, here we go.
He's got Meganar.
Yeah, this is not really the time to fight. They're just trying to poke, which, again, is not really anybody's game plan in this one. As the skill shots just sailing wide, just waiting this one out. The stolen Akali ultimate. As, okay, flash on in once again from Andil. They're trying to fight here with no Meganar, which might work out, but look at Guti in the backline. It is just utter chaos once again. They kill the Zeri, though, and that might be the winning moment, but this Sylas is just too huge as Guti is trying to do this, trying to carry for himself, and he is level 15, and now he's level 16. This is all the Guti carry.
35 kill game at 25 minutes. Valdez.
Sylas OP.
Sylas OP, Sylas level 16. Does less damage than the Akali in the fight, but a lot more meaningful damage there at the end. So durable, so difficult to kill. I can't wait to watch this replay. Watch Diablo in this fight, okay? There's a control ward there. That was a hook that hit by accident. He then stopwatches, and Courage still flash kicks him to set up for the kill. Beautiful play there by Courage, capitalizing on the accidental hook into stopwatch to start out the fight. They still lose it because Guti is busted on this really fed Sylas. Not as fed as the Akali, but just so durable in this fight that he can't actually go down. And
There's a death cap and a fully stacked Dark Seal. They don't even need Zeri. Like, did Zeri do damage in that last fight? Like, maybe a little bit. But that was not why they won at all. They just used everything on the Zeri, and then Guti's like, actually, I'm the carry. You guys messed up.
He sold his stopwatch, Diablo did, after that. his broken stopwatch, that is to say.
Yeah.
He's not planning on getting a GA anytime soon. He was like, yeah. Ever get hooked by a Nautilus in a brush where you have a control ward on the brush and you're on the back side of it and you still get hooked? Feels bad, man.
Yeah, definitely a little bit sad. And yeah, Live Sandbox, you know, they have the big win in the fight, but they're not able to do anything just yet until this Baron spawns. They did take the Hextech Drake, Hextech Soul. I actually saw a tweet from Molecule where it has the highest win rate for teams that do pick up that soul compared to other Dragon Souls.
What was it?
The win rate?
Yeah, or like was it significantly higher?
No, it was like 2. Oh, okay, Cleaver's dead, by the way. Guti is just a monster. Looks like he will get away with the Zhonya's, but for now, that's it. It was like 2% ahead of the next one, which I think was Infernal.
Oh, okay.
Which kind of makes sense.
And this is across all major
Infernal.
regions, right?
Yeah, it's all pro play.
Okay. Because I would expect that in the LCK, the Hextech win rate is significantly higher, just based on what we've seen so far. Woo! I don't know if you want to hook that one also, by the way.
Yeah, I think
I think we need to we got to take the Q off his keyboard
Yeah,
for a minute.
I was about to say, like, remove the key, and maybe he'll be okay. Like, he should just press his ultimate ability. The other two abilities are like...
Yeah, you can have his W. We'll let him have that one.
Yeah. Where's Illima? Well, Lancer subbed in for him here in Game 1. And,
it's not been about him, though, I think, and not in a bad way.
You know, I know it's been a little while since Nautilus has been in the meta, but, like, this has not been the look that we want to see. I mean, he does have to engage alongside a Lancer, so that's going well for them. They don't have their Akali, who has the majority of their gold, by the way.
Lancer was really flirting with the idea, I think, of actually taking that engage and ghosting through the back and just all-inning them up into the turret. Like, you could tell by his movement, he was like, do I ult them, do I ult them, do I ult them? And then he's like, okay, no, let's hold it. I'm glad he made that choice, because I think it could have been a big play, but I think the risk is inevitably too high. If he just gets burst down there by trying to stay and make that play happen, it's a Baron for the sandbox. It may still be, and when that spawns here in 35, but...
Dies.
Yeah.
For Guti.
He's so ahead.
And the... what is that thing? Crystal Shard, Void Shard Staff?
Yeah, I just call it the Magic Pen Crystal.
It's the purple shiny thing. Yeah.
It builds into Void Staff and something else. I can never remember the other thing it builds into.
Lighted Jewel, that's right. Thanks, chat. Here we go. Looks like Liv Sandbox have had enough. They just want to engage. They got a little bit more. That is a huge ultimate from the Gnar. And take a look at Diablo this time around. He is totally safe.
Guti in trouble.
Guti did go a little bit deep. And he is going to get out because he does have that Akali ultimate. This fight is just going kind of insane as Bull is doing insane damage as well as he was protected. But unfortunately, the Zeri is just going to win in these later game fights. They are all incredibly low. Now maybe he's hoping he was poked because, okay, Diablo, he nearly bounce kills Bull.
Yeah, and also
the only one who's left.
The damage from the sapling is like really close to getting him, but it's not enough in the end. I don't know about, okay, let me do a quick teleport check. Okay, there's no TPs. Yeah, they have enough damage. Yeah, very low health bars, but they could do this if they juggle it right, and they do. Sorry, I just had flashbacks.
Perfect.
Any Varus stealing Qs or anything like that. I love how in Challengers, like in LCK, like we'd see like Kana like bounce over the wall here where Raptors are to make a play like this. In Challengers, nah man, he just walks right through.
Just grabs him.
He just grabs him like, well, it's like a cartoon arm with like a huge, like suddenly the character's arm gets a huge bicep and he just grabs them through. Yeah, this fight was pretty nuts, but it's all about the Zeri. Probably going to get POG after that play, if they do win this game.
I don't know. Andil, yeah, I think it's Lulu duty for him next game, unfortunately. As now Lancer's going to get caught here. At least the tanks are in the front line. Lancer is pretty unkillable, but at this point, okay, Bull just disappears. Yep, that's going to do it. Liv Sandbox take a massive fight. Can they end the game here with the Baron buff? Looks pretty likely. This one was not your cleanest game of League of Legends. A couple of 0-2 teams in Challenger League to start, but Liv Sandbox, you know, better comp. They actually were able to play it out. I was expecting even more Challengers craziness, and maybe Kwangdong Freaks would pull ahead, but no, not meant to be. And Liv Sandbox are able to take the win here in Game 1.
That they did. 45 kills in 13 minutes. I mean, there were certainly some clean engages, I would say, on both sides, and we saw some awesome combos and stuff. But I think it was draft diff, actually. Like, usually it isn't. Like, we said this in Challengers a lot, like, draft diff, usually it isn't. But in this case, I think because the game became so chaotic, and when everybody gets fed, because everybody gets a bunch of kills,
yeah,
it just becomes like, all right, well, which fed team is stronger? And
look at the damage numbers. They're so high for everybody.
Yeah, and look at the damage for Zeri, actually less than the damage for Silas and less than the Varus. I still voted for him. I think a lot of people will vote for Goody here, but I
voted for Goody.
I thought his damage was...
I went for Goody.
His damage in that last fight, his movement was really good. He did die to that one hook that Andil had that was good, but...
You know, broken clock is right twice a day.
Look, that's mean, Valdez.
I'm sorry.
This is a best of 3, man. You got to cast him in the next game.
Yeah.
And in the break, he's going to go watch the English VOD and be like, what did he say?
I'm sorry, Andil. Just, yeah. It wasn't your game. Yeah, we can't be perfect all the time. But,
he did have a few good ults, to be fair.
Yeah. When, you know, Liv Sandbox a couple of times, they kind of stacked for it. And that was actually one of the only times that Kwangdong Freaks were able to get the win. Like, I was actually pretty surprised that Liv Sandbox were so deathball-y. You know, I expected a lot of the fights to be a lot more all over the place and crazy, and it was still very challengers, quote unquote, because the fights were still like very messy and all over the place. But the one consistency was that Live Sandbox, they were fighting on their terms, they were fighting as a death ball, and that's how they were always going to win. Especially if the Zeri and the Sylas get fed, which they did. So the Akali was kind of useless. Bull couldn't do as much as the two carries on the other side, and you guys were right. Liv Sandbox's team comp ended up being the one to pull ahead if those scenarios did come true.
And I think it's funny because ironically also what you said right before we started was like, it's challengers Kwangdong will win with this comp. Like that almost came true as Guti will pick up POG.
What do you think about his hair? 1 to 10.
I give it a solid like 7 to 8.
Yeah, I was gonna say 7 just because it's a good style, but there are a lot of Korean men that have the same style as well. It's like the popular style nowadays.
But here's the thing about Goody's hair, because you know Showmaker actually recently adopted this style as well.
It's very common.
But I don't think it looks as good on him. No offense to Showmaker, but I think Guti looks like one of the OGs with this kind of part in his hair. Like it looks like he's been doing this for a while. He's not on the bandwagon. He's a pioneer, I would say.
Okay.
So I'm kind of feeling
nice.
like I think he pulls it off really well, and I think a lot of people are trying to, but they can't pull it off like he can. Nor are people able to pull off Sylas gameplay as proficient as Guti did.
He was great.
Game 1.
Guti was very, very strong. It was nice to see what he was able to do in this game. He was really a big carry, and turns out if the Sylas can get the one kill, can get the Rod of Ages and pop off, he gets really large. But either way, guys, that was game 1. We're going to take a short break and be back for game number 2. Oh, and welcome back to LCK Challengers League 2023 Spring. It is me, Valdez, with Wolf, and we just casted game number 1 of Live Sandbox up against Kwangdong Freaks, and it was a doozy, a lot of kills. Not the cleanest gameplay, but a lot of fun, a lot of action, and Live Sandbox were able to take it with a nice little Zeri ball comp, if you will. Everybody gathers around the Zeri. You've got that Fed Bruiser in the Sylas, and it was really strong.
Really strong front line for the Zeri, and just not a lot of great targets for the Akali once everybody started really coming online, especially the Sylas. just couldn't get through the front. And there was the one time where we did see Cleaver try to get into the back line, but was shut down by the Gnar. It just pushed him away. A rough time. I think the composition not as good for Kwangdong. Like we said, ultimately it was kind of a draft difference, but it could have worked, and it almost worked. And it like at times it was working actually, but it's all about the team fights. The Chronicler rule, you never know until the end. And I think if they didn't fight for those Drakes the way they did, if they didn't force it so hard, I think it could. If they were just more patient, use that Varus, then maybe it would have looked much better.
Yeah, I think they just fought on Live Sandbox's terms, and Live Sandbox came in with a plan to just, go in as 5 in every team comp or in every team fight, and they deserved that win. At the end of the day, they played it a little bit cleaner, just a little bit, just enough. Kwangdong Freaks have selected blue side, so they will be on the blue side once again for game number 2.
Yeah, so we could see a similar draft here. I don't think that the Heimerdinger and the Ashe are going to come through, but could be first pick Varus, maybe with an Enchanter support this time around if they're allowed to play it. I think that Lucian is not going to be allowed either. Given how Diablo played, like I gave him my POG vote. I know that's a dirty thing to do. I gave it to the Fed Zeri at the end.
How dare you?
Even though Guti shaped a lot of the mid game, but I thought his positioning was really good in those fights in the end. And ultimately, the game was defined by those two players. So kind of a chicken and egg thing. I don't mind that Guti picks it up at all. I think he played amazingly. We'll see if they run the same style of composition again. I think that the Sylas will probably be the big change for the draft for Kwangdong. If we do the same first phase of the draft the same way, they will not allow the Sylas through a second time. So maybe something like Fiora gets through. We'll find out.
Fiora could come through. We did see Karma ban the last time. I was actually taking a look at my sheets here. It was the most played for Kwangdong. They have played it 4 times. Or actually, no, this is the most banned. Sorry. So they have been banning it a lot. And would not be surprised if they continue to do just that. But let's see. Let's see how this one goes. How is Kwangdong going to mix up the draft compared to game number 1, which did not go their way?
Yeah, that is a good question. So far, the draft looking the same here. The Yuumi and Heimerdinger. The Yuumi and Heimerdinger, right? And Rise on blue side is such an interesting ban. I don't think you want to show that one actually in second slot if you're going to ban it on blue side, because it makes it very apparent you're not interested. So they could just be like, oh, okay, we just banned Lucian and the Ashe here because we know you're not planning on picking up Rise early. You're not planning on that. You wanted a bottom prio lane. I think that having Rise still open on blue side is very powerful, actually, because it's such a strong pick right now. So I'm not a big fan of teams banning it right now because it makes the draft very clear to the red side team what you're planning on doing with the bottom side. And hey, this looks very familiar so far here, Valdez.
Yeah, if you're Live Sandbox, no reason to change anything up. You were able to get your Zeri into a really fantastic position in game number 1, so you're not worried about the bottom lane. You're able to get Maokai back once again. Vincenzo looked pretty good on that one. I think it's up to Kwangdong Freaks to change something, and the first change I'd like to see is potentially the Nautilus, but as I say that, it does get locked in. Once again, going to try to lock down the Zeri in the team fights. We'll see if Andel can do a better job of that here in game 2.
Cassiopeia tease again, 2 in a row, different teams. It's teased by Dahyuk in the last game. See what they will in fact lock in here, because
Yone.
Blind Yone. Interesting. This was a very common tactic in like 2021 on Yone release, where you try to get some control over the second part of the draft by forcing some like AP jungle bans. Like back then, Yone Nidalee was really common. Yone Talia was really common when Talia was a jungle pick back in at that time. Let's see what Courage is planning on doing, because I honestly think he's the best part of this roster right now, and I would love to see what he's caught, in the tank here in terms of unusual jungle picks when there is this AD mid.
What about a Lilia? We saw that out of Umti. I feel like it could be really good for setting up engages alongside of the Nautilus, but not sure if Courage has got that in his kit. So definitely Definitely could be interesting. Oh my god, they didn't pick an assassin into Maokai Braum. Praise the Lord. Yes, I saw you, Gator. You're very unhappy about the Akali, but just wait and see. You know, that anything could happen.
It's Yone top and the Akali's still coming.
You never know.
Well, there's the Akali into the Yone here, potentially, for Live Sandbox. Really interesting. Now, Akali has a lot of power into this comp if she can circumvent Andil and get on top of the Varus, especially if it is going to be the Immortal Shieldbow variation of the Varus like we saw last game, and not the poke version. You know, he needs to survive. It's at least was something I was thinking here that we could potentially see for Courage in this draft with the Yone, but we need some real magic damage, like some real magic damage in this comp, I think.
Nah.
And we're not gonna get it. It's just not.
We don't need that.
It's just not gonna happen. Just play Scion. Just play Scion, Live Sandbox.
Thinking about Aurelia and Tanar.
This is crazy. They're just gonna play her on top side and try to kill Lancer over and over and over again with this draft. I like the Renekton a lot more because it has some longevity in team fights with his ultimate, and if he gets ahead, he becomes a bigger problem. Whereas Aurelia is so binary. Did she set up a cool stun and get the kill and do the really fun, flashy thing, or did she not? And in Challengers, I think the Renekton, that's plan A, let's say. This plan B locks it in here for Dahyuk.
Could be the way. Dahyuk, you know, should be having a pretty fun time on this one. Dahyuk, definitely one of the hyped top laners around the league. He was he had a lot of fans, especially even on day one when we were casting him. And seems like he's got some great hands, some great mechanics, and we'll see if he can take the win over Lancer in the lane, in a lane where he could potentially have some luck. Still no Illima. Just not going to be playing today. Lancer staying in the top lane for Kwangdong Freaks.
I think that in terms of these compositions, I want to say the same thing that you said before. Like, okay, it's Challengers, and based on what we saw in the last game with the combos and what Yone can provide, I want to give the edge to Kwangdong Freaks. Based on what Game 1 looked like alone, I'm like, oh yeah, Cleaver's going to set up some really crazy fights. Diablo's going to get caught a few times. But also, Live Sandbox's comp is pretty meta, is really strong, and overall has some really great late game conditions. I also just don't trust Andil's Nautilus.
Yeah, Live Sandbox's comp looks like the same comp as last game, except you've got Akali, which has a little bit more assassination potential compared to the tankiness and staying power of a Sylas, and you have Renekton instead of Anar, who, you know, a little bit less, you know, wombo combo potential, but obviously more lane dominance. It's very similar, and I think Live Sandbox can kind of just run it back, whereas Kwangdong, you know, they did take the loss, so they are mixing it up a little bit, which is definitely a good look. But we already saw Live Sandbox win with a comp like this. They feel like they're on the same page, so maybe they can do it again. Let's jump into Game 2 and find out.
Valdez air guitared something onto the floor over here. This is not a joke. I think it was his car keys.
It was. It's back. We're good. We can hear the game
laws
sound,
of gravity.
yes.
The laws of gravity were like, all right, give me your car keys. He's had a little bit too much water this afternoon.
Way too sober.
Way too sober for this broadcast. Taking a look at the runes here, it will be lethal tempo again for Varus, no surprise, especially into this this comp this time around. If you have the Immortal Shieldbow, you can survive some of that extra pressure from the Renekton and the Akali better, but just in general, we're going to be doing a lot more damage in longer fights with the setup that Varus, or rather the Yone, will hopefully provide for you.
Yeah, so I see a lot of you guys a little bit confused about the PTA Elise. Has been coming around in recent times. Just, you know, think about Trundle, right? He used to go PTA all the time from the jungle. His skirmishing ability, especially against the other enemy jungler, was really insane. You know, Trundle has other stuff in his kit to make it even more insane, but similar idea for the Elise. You can attack 3 times really fast in your spider form, and you can proc it really quickly.
You set up the cocoon, jump into spider form, you hit the PTA like instantly, and you do a ton of damage. It's actually really strong. We will potentially see that at level 3 very momentarily here. Onto Diablo will be the target. He did go cleanse, so let's see what Courage is going to try to do with this, because we see this level 3 gank for Elise usually with a lot stronger pushing lanes, like the Lucian lane, or something like a Varus Ashe or a Varus Heimerdinger. This time around, they still have the lane pushed in, but it's, I think, somewhat by design here for Diablo and Plan B, because they want to just play this under turret, let the wave crash in, good wave management. So that's very difficult for Elise to do anything. And as mentioned, or as we're kind of alluding to, she is not going to actually commit to that level 3. We'll go towards the top side of the map instead, spotted by this ward, and clean it up.
Yeah, looks like it was planted around the same time. As Courage is going to do the same thing just on Elise that he did in game number 1. Remember, he invaded here Lee Sin against Maokai. He can do the same thing on the Elise. Vincenzo kind of lining up for him there. That was kind of close. Courage now not going for the red buff. He's going for the kill, going for the pressure, really trying to get Vincenzo out of here. He's got the range advantage with that auto. He's able to steal the big Gromp here, but actually the sapling gets a lot of the smaller guys. Still, Courage is doing his job. You know, he's just trying to push Vincenzo out of here.
Yeah, pushing him out, and range advantage is pretty huge. Unfortunately, for him, Daihyuk is still a force to be reckoned with. He's not going to be able to get anything out of this at the moment, but can zone Vincenzo out of this top scuttle, and then could try to double scuttle and look for a timing bottom side here. As obviously in the early part of this matchup, it's pretty easy for Yone to get a slight edge and some extra prio here, so could just kind of skate around towards the bottom side of the map. In fact, isn't going to look for anything onto Guti, try to force a flash or anything like that. Just going to go take the rest of his jungle first. So spending a lot of time to slow down this Maokai, but not actually getting any sort of massive permanent advantage at this moment in time. It looks like Vincenzo is actually going to be able to path now down to the bottom and won't miss his scuttle. So not going all in. We've seen a lot of players in the LCK go super all in with this type of advantage. He's not going to be doing that.
They don't necessarily have to, although it can give you some strong moments. Vincenzo is coming down to the bottom side. Husk blows already onto Andil. He is exhausted. He might just get killed in a straight up 2v2 as the flash comes in and the Q hits from the Braum. Uh-oh, Vincenzo, no! You got rooted under the turret. What's going on? My guy, as now Bull is going to try to set this one up. That's a kill for him as well. And the gank goes totally awry for Live Sandbox.
So Courage over here, like, I wanted to get some of the action in this early game, but you guys are just defending so well. Cute little unbound soul there from Cleaver to dodge that. They're going to dive Daihyuk now here before he has level 6, though. See if the cocoon lands. Nope. Not even close.
Yeah, did look like it went in the opposite direction.
Maybe predicting a flash there? Let's go with that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're just going straight, like, predict a Reno cocoon, it is quite difficult to land, especially if you have no stun to go off of. Which is why we often see Elise and stuff, and champions that have point-and-click stuns to set up her fantastic stun as well. But not the case with Benar, that is not Mega.
So Andil starts this one off a little bit sus, right? Vincenzo flashes in for the root and is under turret for Smash, so he goes down first, and then they're just super low from the exchange, so Bull actually will commit his own summoner for an extra kill here. That's kind of rough. Varus getting a kill and an assist. Yes, Diablo did pick up the kill, which is massive. They actually, Vincenzo didn't steal that away or anything, because that could have been pretty bad. So he picks up 300, and actually 400 because it was first blood. So that's good for this area, but I think this definitely backfired. Pretty nice edge for Kwangdong now. Let's see if they can hold their lead this time around.
Yeah, you were talking about diving the bottom lane as the Elise. So far, Courage has tried to invade the jungle, push the Maokai away. That was mixed, the Maokai's not behind. She tried to gank top. That didn't really do anything. Dai didn't even have to flash, I don't believe. He doesn't have flash at this moment in time, but either way, yeah, we haven't seen too much in the early game from this Elise, and now they're going to start up the streak.
No, Kwangdong, not again.
Where have we seen this before?
Not again, Kwangdong.
Oh, they're going to go all in onto the Braum.
Yone, though.
Not a great idea, but the Yone does a huge amount of damage. They all line up in a row behind the Braum. Sometimes good, but other times bad, as we can see here. Guti has no items, isn't really doing any damage, so he's just going to get chunked out. And Kwangdong, they beat them into this fight. And they're going to get 3 kills and probably the Drake after this.
You know how every time we get these yearly updates from Riot about we're going to have these mid-scope changes and big reworks and stuff like that, they usually talk about, and I think this is a really true thing that League of Legends players have, the fantasy of playing a champion, right? That is the Yone fantasy, right? Is where, like, this is why I always talk about, oh yeah, early to mid-game fights with Yone when he has 6, like, you can line him up
behind the bra.
And this is like, this almost never happens in pro play. Like, you can force people to go into a choke point, then you can line up for this. You can essentially try to corral people. You can find one target on the side, but for it to work out this beautifully when Andal actually commits, this time correctly, to set them up in the choke point, block them from either retreating or trying to force their way through faster, Cleaver gets big value, right? And this is very rare, but every now and then you come up with a big ult on the Yone, and the triple here is going to lead to now a 2,000 gold lead for Kwangdong Freaks.
Yep, it was surely an oh baby the triple moment for Cleaver. He is now in a fantastic spot in this mid lane. And you and I, we were talking on the Pog State last night about how important the mid lane is nowadays. Your mid laner gets ahead, he can do so much in a side lane, he can just bully the other mid laner and get so many advantages for your team. Feels like a lot of the top lane worth went towards the mid lane and got it even more important. This was feeling like here in the Korean League so far, at least. And Cleaver, definitely a strong player. We'll have to see how he can continue with this little lead. Also, the Varus is 2-0 and 3.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of money on these 2 big carries, right? And there's not a ton of money on Renekton right now, who's lost a plate topside. And they didn't get the Drake, by the way, so that's still under contest here by Liv Sandbox. Timing of this is actually really nice for Liv Sandbox, so... Yeah, he's going down.
Poor Jeff.
This is actually really nice for Liv Sandbox because, again, getting the Drake control allows Zeri to have extra time to scale. Renekton not being involved in this fight a lot of the time, you know, on second Drake, that's when Renekton comes in and makes a big splash with a teleport, is just going to be able to sit there and farm right now. Not looking great, again, for Dahyuk in this game for what his impact is so far, but it certainly could get better. He's 500 gold down at the moment. And Guti also not having the same Akali lead that we saw from Cleaver last game. See what he can do in the coming fights. Because, like, when I cast LCK, I'm always like, all right, well, these are the conditions. Like, this could happen, and, like, let's talk about what the advantages are. In Challenger sometimes I'm like, well, it's looking pretty bad for Liv Sandbox, but let's wait and see.
Yeah, you just never know, right? It keeps it a little bit more exciting, a little bit more suspenseful. You're never really sure how the game is going to end, which is fun, for sure. And yeah, Kwangdong are doing pretty well with the lead that they have, other than giving over Jeff for seemingly free. Just the back timings read pretty well by Liv Sandbox. They're able to pick up that objective. Good warding as well from the side of Liv Sandbox. Looks like Plan B was able to put down at least the 1 ward. And Spot Courage looking for a drop on the Rift Herald in the bottom side, which is where it seems like they do want to get more of a lead here.
Yeah, Courage also taking away some of this jungle control ward vision here is very good. Vincenzo just not able to come over for the contest. This is very awkward for Liv Sandbox because they have no prio anywhere. And this is before Herald drops, right, as you mentioned. They cannot get control of their own blue buff. The mid lane, Guti backed, is just completely out of it. Top side here, Lancer is just crushing Dahyuk with a range advantage. Doesn't have any sort of help up here. It's not looking like there's any map control coming back anytime soon.
Yeah, it's not the greatest time, especially if you do counterpick the Renekton into the Gnar. You're expecting to win this matchup. You do need a little bit of time on the Renekton. You're not just going to do it from minute 1, just because, you know, melee into ranged, and the Renekton can get zoned out a little bit. Also, due to the jungle diff kind of a little bit early on, Courage was able to put some pressure in the top lane. Maybe it got Dahyuk a little bit behind. And since then, Lancer has been doing a good job of pushing the advantage. And, you know, since that team fight, it doesn't seem like Lift Sandbox want to fight anymore because they're just waiting for some of their pieces to get fed.
Yeah, and I think that that's wise. Zeri plus Renekton. Okay, hold on.
Well, Renekton has Dominus, and yeah, they're just going to wait until he pops it and then try to poke. So they use the ultimate, and they do use the Cocoon to get him down. He's going to go for a backwards boomerang and try to interrupt that for the minions to come in. And this Red Herald is actually going to be dropped into the top lane.
Yeah, so getting a teleport out here of Dahyuk really early. He doesn't want to lose any more minions. It's a good play, but I think Live Sandbox, once again, right to just simply leave the Renekton on an island for now and let it go. And that often feels really terrible when you leave a Renekton to lose a lane, a solo or being dove repeatedly while you're not getting anything cross. But that's just what has to happen in this game because Cleaver is outplaying the Sakali in mid, getting some great trades as he does here. Bottom side obviously favoring the Varus Nautilus. And you just have to kill minions for a while and sit on that extra Drake that you got, that you sneaked away after that fight was lost. Cool, 5 more minutes. You're gonna let this Hex Tech go over, right? Right, Live Sandbox? You're gonna let this Hex Tech go over? I'm like looking at them with a very very threatening look right now. I'm looking at Live Sandbox coaching staff. I'm like, oh, you're gonna tell the players to let that, like, oh, I can't talk to the players for in-game. I'm like, you're gonna tell the players to let that Drake go.
Yeah.
They're not gonna fight for it. With no Mythic on the Akali here, just a shield buff for the Zeri. Now, if Live Sandbox do fight for this and Zeri picks up like 2 kills, totally back in the game. Is that likely to happen? Probably not. Could it happen? Is it challengers?
Wolf.
Let's find out, Valdez.
They're calling down their Renekton as Andal is going to get caught here a little bit. That Maokai ultimate is getting some great value. And look at the Zeri in the back line is doing some work here. The Renekton from the top side is just too much. And Lancer has teleport, but he never got a good opportunity to use it because guess what? This is how challenger fights go. They are almost over before they begin. He's like, well, I can't teleport in now that our Yone's dead, you know? And a very confusing engage once again. They should have known the Renekton would be rotating down to the bottom side. Maybe they assumed, Wolf, that Live Sandbox were just going to give it up.
Yeah, they were like...
They didn't know Live Sandbox as well as we do.
Guangdong looked at Live Sandbox and they're going to let it go, right?
Right.
Okay, look at the positioning of Andal and Courage here. Totally way too far ahead. And Cleaver uses his ult here defensively. It's a big ult. Well, there's not enough follow-up damage here. Dahyuk comes down and just catches the Yone as he returns back to his original form.
Yeah.
That's the end of that, you know? Like,
Then they get the trade.
It was a huge ult.
Yeah.
Except that it wasn't. Like, it was a huge ult to try to save those players who were in no man's land. They crossed the demilitarized zone, okay?
Yeah. I mean, Diablo got there a million years ahead of Bull just because Andal and friends were so deep in the enemy jungle that it was fought on Live Sandbox's terms, right? So Bull, I think, did 0 damage in the fight. Like, maybe he got 1 arrow off. That's it. It wasn't his fault. It was just that, you know, the fight was over before it began. So he was like, oh, okay, well, we can't do anything. I guess we just lose this fight. They still got the Drake.
Yeah, someone in the chat, Vikram, says lose fight equals get Drake. That's how it's been going so far. And it is often how it goes just in general in pro play as well, because if you win the fight, you still need to back. You can't just take the Drake afterwards because some people are still alive and they're stragglers and you could get punished, but then they get the faster backs because they died, so they're back faster and then they come. Like, that does happen. But ideally, you would like to win the fight so convincingly that you just get the Drake afterwards. This was a defensive fight for Live Sandbox where they punished Cleaver there. And Night Harvester's done for the Elise. I talked about how, like, they don't really have great AP damage. They do have it in burst here with the Elise, but it's not, you know, consistent AP damage that you would get from a mid laner traditionally. So 2 Immortal Shield Bows in this comp. It makes it really easy for Dahyuk to itemize right now. Obviously, you could just go straight into more and more armor with this Gore Drinker that already makes him more sustainable. As Courage, this is a bold idea. Dahyuk really respecting, though, not going to actually rush towards that tower. Nice escort here. Thought maybe they were going to try to commit under the tower for the dive, but they actually just move over, and Dahyuk's like, you know what? I'm not going to risk my life to save this turret. And that's plus 300.
Yeah. Pretty good move from Guangdong Freaks, trying to push their lead here, 4,000 gold ahead. And yeah, Guti, he is he's not the Silas with ROA, but he is still 2-0. And this time the Akali is fighting into quite a decent number of squishy champions. Like, the Akali is going to be pretty fun in this game as long as you know, she doesn't go in alone, like we saw a little bit in the last game from Cleaver.
Valdez having some lingering thoughts
already.
Yeah, some flashbacks. Okay, Guti looking for a flank here. If he could actually get on top of this Varus with this ult.
Oh, Diok goes in alone. He is going to get 100-0. Already had the Dominus up as Guti will assassinate the Varus, but again, the follow-up too slow from the side of Liv Sandbox. The Zeri is getting huge amounts of damage, but it's still too early in the game for her to be really, you know, game-changing in these team fights. So,
well, there's no AD carry to shoot at her, so
yeah.
He's like, I think I 1v4 this, maybe? No, not quite. They will back away, so ends up being a better trade here for Guangdong Freaks quite significantly. I think a lot of this is down to the fact that they all-inned on the Varus, and they don't have enough damage to break through the front line at this stage in time with the Zeri, who's on one item. So Diok's over here on the flank. It's a really good Maokai ult. Look at Guti. Instantly chases down Bull and wipes him out. But at the same time, the focus fire is onto Diok, so once he's down, where is the fault? Who can peel for the Zeri? It's very awkward here, and Diablo has to kite back. They lose the Braum. It's like, yeah, he can kind of infinitely shoot at them, but he can't get close enough to actually kill any of them because their health bars are too high. He doesn't have that extra peel anymore. There's a mid-turret up. If there's no mid-turret, and maybe one other champion survives, like, if Diok's up, yeah, you could actually chase that pretty far, but fortunately, even though Bull died, they still got the damage off onto the Renekton. So, not a clean fight by any means, which I think is a phrase we've been saying a lot in this series so far. But Guangdong, once again, coming up big. 5,000 gold, 6,000 nearly, 5.5 ahead.
I liked the flank idea. It's definitely something you're going to need to do to get onto Bull, especially with so many threats on the front line for Guangdong. Just execute it a little bit cleaner. also just, you know, you gotta wait for your moments, right? It felt a little bit forced, like they didn't clear all the vision on the backside. Guangdong saw it coming, so it's not like it was a big surprise that they couldn't react to or something like that. Like, if they do that in 5, 6, even 10 minutes time and the Zeri has more items, they could probably still win it just because they assassinate Bull and that's a lot of damage gone. But at that point in the game, I'm not sure if it's worth to force a fight like that just yet.
So Akali left up here topside, but it's an Akali that isn't super far ahead and isn't going to split push very quickly. They also had a wave topside. Akali has no turret, and there's a Maokai, or rather an Elise, so it's kind of scary to like push that one really fast and try to commit to a turret. So she's left up there, while they also shut, once again, Dahyuk down bottom side. They group up, they escort the side lane, and then instead of committing to defending the turret, Dahyuk just lets it go, so more gold goes over the side of Guangdong Freaks here. Just trying to further solidify their lead. It's actually now, in fact, over a 6,000 gold lead. And unfortunately, Guti can't get the turret down cross map. Also, Diablo, with no turret in mid, had to wait to farm, couldn't actually put any damage down mid. So Guangdong playing oppressively with this advantage that they have right now, and really just making sure this Renekton can't play the game. And it's been quite successful so far here. He's just stacking up armor, and that is going to be useful against this composition, but finding himself significantly behind the Cleaver already done here for Lancer. And starting a Baron, 21 minutes here. No vision whatsoever for Liv Sandbox.
Yeah, Andal just has no chill, man. He's gonna attack whatever he sees in front of him, including the Baron. They do know this is going on now. Not sure they can do much about it, as the Maokai ultimate is coming in there, trying to take a fight afterwards.
Here comes Dahyuk.
The Nautilus ultimate went on to the Akali, so Diablo should be totally fine to just go into this fight, but it's kind of difficult to force this one. He's able to get that shuriken onto the Elise. Is Guti, man. He is just hard carrying in some of these games, and now Diablo's able to pick up a kill. But remember, the Baron did go the way of Guangdong Freaks for only the payment of 2 deaths.
Yeah, 3 remaining Baron buffs, and one of those being on the Nara is massive, so he can push off in the side and still still get that Baron buff power coming through. Not a lot of easy objectives, of course.
Zeri moment?
Zeri moment? Yeah, question mark. I'd say...
Maybe?
Yeah, on the edge of one. Like, I'm not going to certify it. It's under review. It's under review. Let's see what Diablo does in the late
tentative, yeah.
now try and take away this Baron buff from Lancer, speaking of. And they're going to grab this bounty on the turret, top side. And Guti is also siding alone here right now, getting some extra money.
Yeah, Guti and Diablo are getting pretty huge.
Yeah.
You could say the same about Bull, but not really about Cleveland. I feel like the Sione had that one moment, but other than that has been a little bit invisible.
I feel like we don't always get to say this about Maokai ults in Korea, but this one was actually angled really well. Dahyuk has a nice flank, and they have to retreat super fast, and then Guti just realizes, okay, I've got an angle on Encourage Shuriken land, so he can flip over and take him out. And there's no pressure on him whatsoever there on the side, because the rest of the team is funneling downwards, so just really having good target selection there after the Maokai ult goes down to punish the Baron take. Still buffed up here top side, though. Will Guti find the back angle again?
Here we go, Guti. They have locked him down this time. He is gone. Well, you had an Akali, and now you do not. That Braum is going to pay off dividends, but he is not able to save the Renekton. Actually, a really nice play from Andal this time around. Able to get a fantastic follow-up. Diablo still alive, but they are fighting against Baron-buffed minions, and 5 members of Kwangdong might just have to give up this inhibitor.
Yeah, we call this an A-rat, where they all go top and push the inhib and try to end the game. I mean, they have a cannon minion here, Baron buff. 10 seconds on Guti, though. I do not think you can actually push this any further. You can grab an inhibitor. You should be happy with that one. We're still looking at the 3rd Drake hasn't been taken yet for Kwangdong Freaks, so let's slow it down. Let's back it up. And I understand the pressure here because the team fights have been volatile despite the 8,000 gold lead here for Kwangdong Freaks. And when you're looking at how some of these fights are going, even this one, very scary if Guti gets into the backline, but he's completely shut down this time. The disjointed Maokai ult with his angle he took where he couldn't get on top of Bull is kind of nasty. As you mentioned, Andal with a big play there. It's a follow-up hook here. Braum ult helps them disengage, but that's an inhib. And as Kwangdong, you're like, I wish we could end the game right now because the Zeri is just becoming more threatening every second that goes by. The same, of course, of this Akali. But if you can lock them down, as we saw here, might not matter.
Yeah, she's getting closer to those quick blades, and yeah, I mean, the Nautilus actually ended up being huge in this series, in this game specifically, just because you're dealing with not only Zeri, but also the Akali, and both of them are relatively slippery and relatively squishy, and you've got a point and click that just removes one of them essentially. It didn't work out in the last fight because they were all sprinting away from Baron, but if it's a really clean straight up 5v5, your front line is really strong and you can essentially nullify one of the enemy carries very easily with just one point and click. So they've got the Fed carries themselves as well. I mean, Bull he's already on 3 items here, and it's going to be a huge menace in these team fights.
And the way Kwangdong has approached this 4-1 too, where they're essentially just tackling one lane at a time, you know, leaving the Gnar bottom side here, pushing us forward because they have pretty good wave clear, and then backing up, setting up some vision to stop the movement of Live Sandbox. Notice the wards they've set up there on the top side of the map in the jungle. So Live Sandbox, you're going to come contest Drake. Probably not, because you're dealing with these waves. You need to actually farm up your Akali a little bit more. You can't come down here quickly, but if you did decide to do so, we'll see it coming a mile away. It's just really safe, good play here, and something that I think pretty much every Challengers team can manage this much macro, right? With a lead like this, just say, all right, 4-1 it. After we've gotten the top inhib, that lane kind of manages itself. Let's kind of slowly cut the map into pieces. And in about 75 seconds or so here, when this Baron spawns, Kwangdong Freaks are going to try to use that setup vision once again, clearing it now. It's a bit early for this setup, but as long as they have control here, they can threaten picks, and time is on their side, at least for the moment.
Yeah, with Sandbox, the only real way to get a fight on their terms, I mean, the top inhibitor is actually the best inhibitor for them because it's closest to the Baron, and you can kind of push it out and then just angle onto the Baron. But as you mentioned, denying every single piece of vision away from the Sandbox here means that probably this is just going to be a Baron for Kwangdong Freaks. Also, the Sandbox are not handling this this push from the top lane very well. Like, Dayuk gets there after the Nexus turret is taking damage, not what you want to see. Should be trying to push that out if they are actually going to challenge at this Baron.
Yeah, the inhibitor is still down for a long time, too. If he had been there earlier, you know, maybe he could have staved off the pressure to hopefully contest Baron before the next waves hit, but as you can see here, it's a really free path on spawn here for Kwangdong Freaks. They can set up picks as they kind of kite back towards it. As they kite back towards it. Nope. Nope.
Well, it is the Braum that he did hook, and here's the TP right on top of 4 of them. They are going to jump onto Lancer, but he's Mega Gnar as Yone only hits 1 person, and the Renekton is in the front line. He is taking so much damage, but the Goredrinker tanks up a lot. But look at Bull. He is totally untouched the entire time. They might get to him now, though, as so many low health bars, but the Varus is just going madman mode in the back line. Is nearly able to take out the Zeri. He's going to take out the Akali, and Bull is going 1v9 in this game.
As they kite back towards it. They went in again, Valdez, and it was very risky, and it almost backfired big time here. Liv Sandbox now having to come back here and clear these final minions. This is what I was talking about. Just a contest on Baron alone means you're going to lose this Nexus turret if you stick around for a very long time. Watch this fight again as once again the Braum is hooked, puts up the door, and the Maokai ult allows him to just instantly collapse onto Lancer. If his Narbar isn't set for this ult, he dies instantly. He still dies, but he buys a little bit of time here. And look at who doesn't actually get touched in this fight, who's sitting at 98% health. It's Bull, who just goes man mode, as you said, and does a ton of damage. Once it gets down to this point here, the fight is essentially over. They want to secure that kill onto Guti, and they do. But that was very risky, and that's kind of best case scenario for Liv Sandbox, honestly. If they had just kited back towards the Baron and taken it, they have Baron buff, they could just walk down and end. But they wanted to take it a more aggressive approach, and it almost actually cost them a lot of control.
And so we reset here. The inhibitor is
up,
respawned, yeah. That is going to be huge. And now, just gotta push through this blind forest. You know, there's no Ori in this game, but it's good enough. They have so many ways to check bushes that, well, that was they saw
that
them.
That is
and
one way to check the brush.
And yeah, so Vincendo's dead. That's the jungler here on the Sandbox, and that's the Baron here for Kwangdong.
A wave clear for Liv Sandbox is pretty bad also. Like, in terms of how they could stop this Baron push, I don't think it's going to happen. At least the inhib respawn, so topside doesn't have free super minions, but it's going to be 3 minutes of hell on the Rift here if they survive. I think it will be less than that because I do not think they will survive this push. Unfortunately, it was very close. I mean, a good try from Liv Sandbox that was really well played around Kwangdong's mistake right before the previous Baron take they could have gone for, but there's just no surviving this.
Yeah, doesn't look too likely. Nice hop away from Lancer. He is playing the pressure on that top inhibitor very, very well, just not getting picked and also poking away and being very, very annoying. Waits for his team to move over. That's now 2 inhibitors that are down. And, you know, they have a lot of golds. They haven't backed after the Baron fight, so they can just do that now.
Yeah, and the Baron is still up for 2 more minutes, so even though they do not win here, they can just group and probably push mid and still win the game. Now, there's a Drake spawning, and it looks like Liv Sandbox are going to try to push mid in here and maybe grab Bounty Turret and Bounty Drake. Like, that's a lot to hope for here, considering the 2 super minion waves. And, I mean, the timing of this is there's just not enough time for them to do all of it, right? Like, there's so much they want to have, there's so much they could potentially go for here, but it's going to be Soul going over to Kwangdong Freaks. Buying them time, like, this Soul does chip away at that Baron timer. You know, we're down to 1:30. I think this wasn't necessary for Kwangdong Freaks, but dot your I's, cross your T's, dot your J's, as we sometimes say, you know, in games like this. Don't lose this series 0-2. You know, make sure you have this 10,000 gold lead. Don't throw it away.
That just opens up the potential Elder Flip win condition for Liv Sandbox, though. So, don't know if we're going to get 5.5 minutes longer in this game. As, okay, they are going to spot that ward. That is very important for no Dayuk flank or Guti flank. in this scenario. Diablo did not pick up an Infinity Edge. He has a Bloodthirster, actually. So he is on 4 items, but we'll see how much he can do. They did not clear this ward, as this will be a last stand here for the side of Live Sandbox, as Guti is going to get hooked, but it doesn't amount to much. The Maokai ultimate for the disengage, as Vincenzo is so not tanky. He is dead once again, as here comes Daya. He is going to get in that backline against Bull, but Bull just does so much damage. It's going to tear him to shreds, and Guti and Diablo not able to do too much. Diablo now all alone, essentially, as Guti about to go down. No, he is actually going to survive. Nope. Just gets killed in the pool. And guys, we are going to a game number 3. Diablo not able to do it all alone, even though he did get up to 4 items. The Zeri win condition is not real this time around, as Kwangdong Freaks will tie it up 1-1.
Who's your POG this one? I think
Bull.
you're giving it to Bull?
Yes, I am giving it to Bull.
I think I'm giving it to Cleaver this time, because though I mean the Yone ults were good. Nah, I'm gonna give it to Bull too. His positioning was good. He did too much damage.
Yeah.
I wanted to give it to the Yone because he had the big ults, but like that was really just on Live Sandbox more than it was his plays a lot of the time. Looks like everybody on the side of Kwangdong Freaks, despite the win, are talking to the coaches real quick.
They ran away.
They ran out of there to talk to the coaching staff, and it was a crazy game, but I think a much cleaner game, weirdly enough, than the last one on both sides. Still,
settling in.
Yeah, settling in a little bit. Still a wild game with a lot of damage on all of these champions. The one time I was really worried for Kwangdong was when they almost lost a full fight and got wiped right before that Drake spawned, and when the Baron was up. Like, if Live Sandbox get that Baron, that inhibitor respawns, and the Zeri gets 4 items, and they have map control, things get very different. I think Kwangdong definitely will be hearing a little bit from the coaching staff about that decision. The draft, I was concerned about the damage profile, but it ended up being okay in the end because Bull did carry and pop off. Also, I was a little bit concerned about how the Elise early game went. They weren't successful at the beginning of the game at diving the Renekton, but look at the damage difference here in the top laners. Lancer definitely coming up big in this one. Shut down the Renekton. Then they constantly followed him around the map so that he couldn't really have an impact. It was just good macro play overall. All my concerns kind of faded away as the game, hit the 22-25 minute mark.
Yeah, absolutely. I think some of the fights were a bit forced from the side of Live Sandbox. It allowed Bull to get some really nice positioning and or tank all the damage, and then his team cleaned up in that one team fight. But yeah, he did really well. I mean, consider he's going up against a flanking Renekton and a Kali, even a Zeri, and he only died once and was able to output an insane amount of damage. So Bull just able to pick up the POG here. Not too surprising at the end of the day, and
he's got the part where part of his hair goes back, part stays in front. Does kind of look like a what the Western characters would look like in a medieval TV show. True. He's one of the kings of the knights. One of the leaders. So it does look that way. And in this game, he was kind of the leader of Kwangdong Freaks.
Yeah, he did a great job. And guys, we're going to highlights. We will be back for Game 3 after a bit.
팀의 포탑이 파괴되었습니다. 빨간 팀의 포탑이 파괴되었습니다.
Hello and welcome back to LCK Challengers. We are here in the midst of a series that we have on our hands between Kwangdong Freaks and Live Sandbox. 1-1, all tied up. Who do you think is going to take to this third one, Wolf?
I'm gonna say Live Sandbox, actually. I think Kwangdong's risque playstyle may come back to bite them. I think Kwangdong's playstyle is like, we are the better team. We're going to play like the better team. We're going to make the aggressive plays. We're never going to stop. And I think for a development team like Kwangdong's Academy roster, that's definitely the right way to approach the game. Because if you try to play like your, D+ Kia top tier LCK team like right away, you'll miss some of the finer points of the macro, and you'll train a player base that's pretty timid and that won't see opportunity. So I don't think it's wrong, but I think they will be punished because Live Sandbox have been playing a more slow scaling style of play, and they've punished Kwangdong multiple times in game 1, several times on dragon fights. In game 2, 10,000 gold down, almost came back and won off of a punished play.
Yeah.
So I feel it in my bones. Live Sandbox win here.
Okay, I'll take the other side. I think Kwangdong Freaks will win, just because I wanted to take the other side.
Okay, that's a good reason.
Yeah, that's
make
my
it more
only reason,
interesting.
actually. Yeah, just I thought it should be 50-50. They also have Bull, which has been pointed out very nicely in the chat. Bull has been playing very well. Cleaver seemingly able to at least jump onto the One, which shows a decent amount of confidence. He was able to get a nice play in the last game. And from there on out, didn't do too much, but he wasn't really the guy who had to carry. He wasn't the all-star of the team. They had Bull for that.
Side selection coming through. Live Sandbox selected blue. All right, so different side this time around. So we're going to have maybe a little bit of action with some Varus draft potentially for Live Sandbox if they want to take that. Lucian, if it's left available, could be the plan. We could also see just Zeri on blue side if they want to keep playing the same way for Diablo.
Yeah.
I hope we see a different draft, though, now with the side selection being changed.
Yeah, I would like to see it. I think maybe from the blue side, they could even ban the Varus and say, we're still going to play Zeri. That's one way to mix it up. Maybe, ban Varus, ban Lucian or something like that and see where you can go with that. Does open up some of the bans to allow you to do some more interesting stuff, kind of get things played on your side, the way that you want to play them. But yeah, it just remains to be seen because I do feel like challenger teams generally come into drafts with, okay, we've got one plan, we're going to do this, and that's the way it's going to go. So I wouldn't even be surprised if they just ban the same stuff.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either. We've also seen the Rise ban from Kwangdong Freaks on blue side. I wonder if they'll continue to do that here on red side. Because I don't think if your plan is to just make sure they don't have the Rise response for your Varus, it doesn't seem like that is going to make the same sort of impact on the opposite side of the Rift, right? Like they will just take Rise first. So I think you still have to ban that. So I think that aspect of the draft doesn't really change. I wonder if they'll leave the Varus and Ashe open and hope that Live Sandbox actually prioritize the Zeri and so they can get that on red side themselves. A lot of different ways that you can go about this. Players looking like they're still getting ready and into the lobby here before we jump into this draft.
Yeah.
Everybody is seeming to be in pretty good spirits, though. I think the attitude of the Kwangdong Freaks players is definitely like, we're here, we're going to make a big show, we're going to have fun.
We're having fun, yeah. I hope we see Bull play Ezreal. That was a lot of fun yesterday, watching Aiming play the Ezreal as well. He is a fantastic Ezreal. And I think Bull is up to the task. Maybe try to throw something in. Maybe try to pick a jungle first instead. Or maybe even the Karma. They have been doing a lot of the Karma bans, but from the red side, can he realistically do that, I wonder? They have been getting a lot of side selection because up until today, they were 0-2. So they had a lot of times where maybe they would start on blue and then select blue again and stuff like that. So maybe they're banning a lot of Karma, but might change it up when we do go to the swap sides and they do go into red.
Got the update. I'll give you guys a little peek behind the curtain.
Whoa.
The reason why we have a delay, and potentially part of the reason why the Kwangdong Freaks players looked like they were laughing and having a lot of fun, and why some of the Sandbox players having a little bit more of a laugh as well, I think, when they were told, is because one of the Kwangdong players spilled water on their mouse pad. So cleaning it up a little bit here before we jump into this next game. I don't know who did in fact spill it, and even if I knew, I might keep it a secret just to keep it private, you know, like don't have to share that. Embarrassing one. But I do see one water bottle on the table that's half full.
Yeah. Did he drink all that water? I don't know. This guy's getting a talking to.
I told you to screw the cap on tightly. No, that's the Live Sandbox player. It's not him. So it's like this. He was saying this is why you always screw it on tightly. Like you did a good job, good work. So we will be getting into this one as soon as the mouse pad issue is resolved. A water issue, so to speak.
Apparently, Kwangdong Freak Bull, his hot pack exploded. And by exploded, it rips open, and then the black charcoal goes everywhere. This has happened to me on cast, and it has gone all over my jacket and my pants before. When it's like really cold somewhere and you're just shaking the thing and it somehow rips. It can be really annoying to clean up, and it can get everywhere. So I totally understand the situation right now.
I generally myself treat my hot packs with gentle care.
Yeah, I'm not about that life.
I do a very careful shake, right? And sometimes you do you do a little pound, but like it's kind of like a small karate chop. You know what I'm talking about? You do like and then you shake one side, shake the other side, like almost the two halves of it, because it's basically just putting the chemicals together to make sure they react, and that's what creates the heat, right? So if you shake it violently, it usually actually doesn't help, especially if the hot pack is already activated. But I think it was just Bull in hard carry mode here. Now he's cleaning his hands off, as you can see. He was just in hard Varus carry mode, and he probably just, once he won that team fight, literally on his own, he put this team on his back. He probably just slammed his fist on the table to say, like, I did it, and then accidentally exploded this hot pack. It was officially referred to as the hot pack bombing incident.
Yeah. Strange. Wolf breaking down the hot pack mechanics like a true analyst. Yeah, that's why we hired him. He knows all about hot pack mechanics. And yeah, Bull is really getting in there. You can see like the charcoal really goes everywhere. It's like a fine dust.
Yeah.
You do not want that.
It's not actually charcoal, by the way, but charcoal-like substance.
It kind of looks like charcoal, yeah.
Just to make sure nobody thinks there's actually charcoal in his hot pack that's like really hot or something. It's like on fire. Like in esports, you got to keep your hands so warmed up. We actually literally have a stove, a wood-burning stove behind us.
Yeah,
and we take the charcoal out, put it in a sack, and give it to the players.
Yeah, and they have to hold it for 5 seconds. That way they, they got to play with blisters. That way they play better for some reason. It's like training wheels.
We do keep the chat open, guys. We have an intimate experience with the fans who watch the Challenger stream, so please continue to chat as we will see the Ashheimer blue side bans here for Live Sandbox this time, so changing it up.
Again from Kwangdong. Why do you do this?
Will they ban the Rise?
I wanted to see Bull play Ezreal. Not going to happen.
It's definitely not going to happen, I think, at all.
Not anymore.
As there's the Rise ban. Is it a first pick
Maokai?
Yuumi? I think it's going to be Maokai. I was going to say first pick Yuumi or Maokai.
Sejuani.
Okay. Unexpected. Vaguely expected, but of the 3 picks it could have been, this was the least likely. But still fairly likely.
Varus. Ooh.
What's he going to play it with, though? Because you don't know. I don't think you pick a support here, actually. I think you just pick Maokai and then wait.
Wukong. Wukong could be good.
Yeah? Maokai or Wukong.
Sejuani.
And just wait and see what AD carry duo you're up against before you lock in that Nautilus. Because don't play Nautilus blind. They can do something completely different.
There it is.
Well,
The
hover.
spinny boy
There he goes.
is on the rift.
Is it just going to be Yuumi Zeri? Pretty good chance. And then the Nautilus comes through. That's my prediction right now.
Silas.
That's not a Zeri or a Yuumi. What do
Imagine
you got planned?
not picking bot lane in your first 3 picks. Strange.
Ooh, they get the early Camille because it's been banned every game against them. So picking it up early this time for Dahyuk. And Dahyuk's been a pretty known Camille player. Played a ton in solo queue leading into this season. That's what he likes to side lane with. Now you've got really nice engage. You can steal the Wukong ultimate as Silas. You can also steal the Akali ult, which is locked in here, and get into the back line that way. So a lot of threats for this Varus. I like this response. It's not about, okay, we need our Zeri to pop off. It's like, let's make sure Bull can't pop off again, is the style of draft that Live Sandbox has gone with this time around.
Yeah, and now we're having a, I don't know about if you know about this new meme, Chronicler was telling about it to me in the car yesterday. It's the hold on, let them cook meme.
Oh, I know about the let him cook meme, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what it feels like right now for Live Sandbox, because this never happens in the LCK where you don't pick your bottom lane in the first 3. It's like, okay, hold on, let them cook. Like, let's see what they've got.
So
What's
now,
it going to be?
Lucian, Zeri, and Sivir are banned. Varus is already picked. Ash and Heimer are banned. Do we have to remake the draft? I don't know if they're about any other 80 carries. Is it Aphelios in 2023?
Remember Neela?
Somebody hovered.
That was a fun week.
We did see the Neela hover yesterday. It was, I can't remember which team, but somebody was thinking about it. It didn't actually come to pass. I think it was Nongshim actually was thinking about playing it. But anyway, Cassante does make it through. And there's your Ezreal.
My Ezreal, but there's no karma.
Okay. What is this going to be? Like, Ezreal, Leona, what year is it?
Where am I?
They really just want to kill Bull. Like, they want to... There's so many ways for him to die here in this fight. Ezreal is the only, like, champion that can't actually just straight up CC him, but everyone else is going to make his life miserable. Do you think he'll take cleanse this game? Okay, I actually like this Tom Kench, because... You're looking at this as Kwangdong Freaks, and you're like, how can we make sure Lancer survives? And Tom Kench is absolutely the answer. Like, is it meta right now? No. Is it strong into Leona? Absolutely not. But will it give Varus a chance to actually survive and do damage this game? Maybe. That's what they're hoping for.
Yeah, sorry, Kevin. You kind of summoned it. You kind of like viewer curse this draft. I think the Tom, though, is good. I'm with you, Wolf. I think you can do a lot of work with that. You can get him out of the Camille. And Bull will be safe to do damage, and Cleaver will be safe to do whatever he wants, because there will be a lot of focus on Bull. There is a chance that, you know, if Live Sandbox get ahead once again, they kind of just like overwhelm, and if Cleaver tries to go in, they can just focus him down, kind of like what happened to Guti in the last game. But again, might just come down to who makes less mistakes, Wolf.
I think that what's really interesting about this draft for Live Sandbox is all of these champions can engage, but they can also peel for Diablo. And Diablo is Ezreal, who has some of the best positioning and self-peel in the game with his Arcane Shift. So Diablo should basically never die this game, even if they lose, because he has so much to work with here. So I think he's going to have a lot of agency.
Yeah, definitely. It looks like Game 3 is just about ready to go, so let's load on to the Rift for this one. Kwangdong Freaks up against Live Sandbox. This one will determine who is going to get their first series win here at CL. Both teams currently 0-2, looking for that first win. And I don't know, it's going to come down to who plays it better in this one. The drafts, very interesting, going all the way to Game 3 here in this series.
Yep. Here we go. During the break, we did a little bit of headbanging action.
Yeah.
And we got our producer actually told us that we were doing a good job of the headbanging.
Yeah.
So I think like, you guys have never seen us do the off-camera headbang when we get into the game, which we do kind of ritualistically without saying anything. It's just an unspoken thing we do here at Challengers.
Yeah.
And now I know that our PD thinks that we did a good job, so.
Excellent.
I don't think he said that to Chronicler and Atlas, so
Yeah,
I think that makes us
no.
the superior duo. Sorry, guys.
We are better at headbanging at least, which is giving us a huge lead at the moment. So just keep that in mind. A couple of points from Marshball. He said, you know, note that the Cassante has flash in this game. You see that from time to time, but it is here in this one. And Kench Ignite.
Kench Ignite here, I think hoping for some of those trades in the lane to potentially be turned. And we also have the Glacial Augment for the Leona, which I think is a great choice in this case. Very meta. Of course, an Aftershock for the Sejuani. So looking to go deep, look for that backline.
Yep. They have one goal in mind. It is to dive onto the squishy backline of Kwangba. Try to get through the Cassante. Not going to be too easy. Somehow he missed everything there. And hello, Atlas. Welcome to the cast. You should probably be sleeping right now.
Alice is not keeping up the challengers' positivity with the Dan's game. I think he said it because I said we were the better duo, but you just, because we're in challengers chat, you just have to say, yeah, of course, man, sure, like whatever you guys want, like just be positive.
Yeah, that's what Chronicler said, so you have to listen to him. He's the challengers guy.
No negativity allowed, no dance games.
Yeah, only positivity in this chat. Otherwise, Nightbot is going to shut you down. Definitely no capitalization in the chat, that's for sure. You're not allowed.
I think there's some decent amount of peel. Like the Cassante all out is going to be really nice to push people back who want to potentially engage. Obviously his Q3 too can trap those who have actually stayed too far into the fight. Like he has a lot of ways set up. As might have caster cursed him a little bit.
Uh-oh, he is Cassante, but is it going to matter? He's going to get stunned up after all of that, and he gets out somehow, puts in a nice little sad emoji as Plan B went in onto Bull. Is not able to take him down, and Cassante will reign free and not die.
I thought you were going to say Supreme, and I was like, well, I mean, he's going to have to TP back. Like, Supreme is correct, but he gets out, all right? Does have to flash, loses both summoners now. And unfortunately, going to lose a little bit of control of the lane as a result. Courage seen on this ward. But besides the Cassante, they do have the Wukong ultimate as well to keep back those advancing melee champions who are going to look to get on top of Bull. I think that is going to be really key. Is Andal's Devour, obviously, Lancer and Courage peeling for Bull, because Cleaver isn't going to be doing anything in that regard. Doesn't have really any utility, only damage. And if Bull dies, the damage in this team depends on how ahead Cleaver is, / if Cleaver is ahead. If he's behind, he's running into all the tanks, just like we saw last time. I believe it was Gator in the chat was worried. And yeah.
Yep, Courage coming on in. They spotted him going through mid lane, so they should know this is a possibility. Plan B just going to flash early. I don't think Courage ever showed, but they knew that he was down here. They don't see him taking the Scuttle Crab. They have one ward kind of at the bottom of the river, which this Scuttle Crab could have been pushed into as it was being taken. And yeah, good flash out of Plan B. Obviously, he's not going to have that for some engages here as this lane comes around, but
he's
better safe than sorry.
Yeah, he's Hex Flashing. He'll be all right. You can make some plays out of the brush here and over some walls later on, so not disastrous by any means.
When is Bro playing? FFS. They're playing next series.
Against KT Rolster. So just one more game. One more game and a very short, maybe 20, 30-minute break after that. To the conclusion of this epic best of 3.
It's anybody's game from here.
Guti, yeah, he's... I was going to say, like, there's 2 wards here. I do not think you're going to get that roam to top side to punish Lancer. He does not commit.
Guma Juicy, first time chatter. Welcome.
That's a good name. Yeah, we reach out on this. That's true.
Yeah, we're trying to, keep with the Chronicler lore. We're just trying to keep up the friendly, engaging atmosphere.
Yeah, it's kind of the way of WDG, a production company that runs challengers. They have it set up really nicely for us, and the Korean commentators do other leagues here for them. They have a really cool setup so we can watch the game and the chat and keep that intimate experience that you guys are here for. Follow the channel, by the way, spread the word. You know, we very quickly rose up in our follower count on this new channel, but it's still relatively undiscovered. I saw a lot of people last week, but even seemingly more today, saying, wow, I didn't know this existed. I just discovered this. And, you know, tell your friends. You guys know that movie Pay It Forward? Or, you know, one good deed and you get really sad ending, but we can make a happy ending here in Challengers.
Always. Always a positive, happy ending here.
Yeah. Pay It Forward was like a good idea, but that movie got really messed up, man.
Yeah.
Those movies, when I was watching as a kid, I was like, yeah, this is so cool. I was like, whoa. Am I allowed to
Reality
watch this?
hits you straight in the face in that one. It's like, ooh.
I know it's a bit of a boomer movie that nobody's heard of in the chat, but it's a classic, actually.
I'd like to think like the average age of the chat is probably like 2005 born, you know. It is a League of Legends stream after all.
Yeah, someone says they had to watch it in school. It's something you remember. No, it certainly is. Good on your school for, you know,
yeah, it's
putting
an
you through
interesting
that.
one. Monty and Wolf Show from today brought me here. Love you guys. Keep up the great work.
They've got to make an impact, man. We're putting the word out.
You got to spread the word. As here we go, 2v2 in the mid lane. Looks like they get the jump on from the Kwangdong side as a bit of a stun does go down, but it is Wukong who had not used his decoy just yet. And Courage and Cleaver getting the win in the 2v2. The Sejuani not level 6 yet.
Yeah, Vincenzo here kind of awkwardly hoping to smite. He doesn't even have smite, actually. He's just kind of out of luck here. And without it, and without his jungle pet being able to steal any of these, he's not going to hit level 6. Don't even know how close he is. He's got to be very close, but really unfortunate. Not going to be able to contest. And Guti just really having a hard time here once Cleaver hits level 6.
Get in there, Andal.
Yeah, Diablo. Careful. Very low here. Nice dodge on the tongue lash, but there's a control ward for Courage, who still has flash and ult. Diablo, don't go that way. Don't go that way.
He's okay. He's got heal, he's got flash, he's Ezreal. They are in vision. They're going to clear out 2 wards here. Nicely done. Probably saw that one that was a little bit lower go down. As the back timing here will be spotted.
Somebody asking whether press the attack will be better on Ezreal here. And press the attack's really common right now in solo queue. It's like the #1, you know, we had Riot added that new thing where you get your recommended runes. Like usually press the attack is what people are taking in solo queue, but I think in this game where you're going to be doing lots of damage for a long time against all the, or in conjunction with all the melee frontline you have, I do like the Conqueror just because you're going to be fighting for so long, so that value should really stack up. But if you want to just kill Bull really fast, like, yeah, it's good. That's also good versus Cassante, I'd say, is Courage ults.
A little bit of a fight, but Chenzo going to get caught out here. He flashes out. Now Guti's like, wait, where did my team go? Plan B is coming on over. Nice chain of corruption. Does hit him on the backside of that, as in goes Cleaver, and he will take the kill, although Guti got pretty close on the back end of that one to bursting him down. So first blood will go to Cleaver on the Akali.
Yep, and this should be Herald going over to Kwangdong Freaks as well. Diablo just going to take a control ward here, and looks like he's not going to look for a contest. Doesn't have an ultimate even to try to steal this Herald. And Bull rotates back over really quickly, not going to lose too much CS here or anything like that. I don't think a plate is going to go over either, even though it is Ezreal. Sometimes those can go down quickly, just not able to push this one in. As this fight starts off with Courage setting up the ultimate here, and the Tahm Kench follow-up just really forces a flash, and Guti is just kind of left out to dry, unfortunately. And there's just so much chase and follow-up here.
Jeez, man, it's so good.
So nasty. Very close fight with the Sylas there, but he just took so much damage in the outset of this. And a lot of that's just Courage out-positioning Vincenzo.
All right, here we go. Maybe a chance now as Vincenzo finally able to get over the wall with this Hex Flash. trying to save his dash here, but now it's just a little bit too little too late. You can see the communication not really there. This is going to allow Courage to come in. Low health bars here for the side of Live Sandbox as hook shot away. There's Diehook. Okay, nice knockup on a Vincenzo, though the follow-up there from Lancer was so huge. He has been so solid in this top lane. People have been asking, you know, where's Illima? Well, Lancer's here. He's doing quite well, as now Cleaver is randomly in no man's land. Probably a little bit of a gank from Plan B.
Yeah, caught by Plan B's roam here mid, and this does, of course, leave Diablo unshown on camera. You can see him on the minimap under a lot of pressure down here on the bottom side of the map, and is going to lose a little bit of CS here and a plate because of it. The top side fight, when we get to this replay, was really disjointed for Vincenzo and Diehook. Diehook ults first before Vincenzo is in position to actually follow up. And I suppose the idea is he's thinking that outside of Hextech Ultimatum, he's just simply going to layer his own ultimate on top, but he's not in a position to follow up, and he hasn't rotated around. I think if Diehook just waits and pushes Lancer out and they actually collapse on him faster there, they can probably get the kill there before Courage shows up. There's just enough time. And sometimes we don't show the replays in challengers. I don't know if they're going to show it or not, but you guys know what I'm talking about. It was a little bit disjointed there.
I remember.
Yeah. A little bit disjointed on the top side, a little bit not synced up, desynced in terms of the engages there. And it's a nice punish. Guangdong, despite losing Cleaver, you know, seemingly randomly to that Plan B roam, still have a nice lead, and we'll look to set up for the first rake of the game here at 12 minutes, 12 and a half.
This is recently, and by recently I mean for the past maybe 3 or 4 years, maybe longer than that, has always been controversy. The Oblivion Orb on the Akali against the Sylas, who picked up an extremely early Rod of Ages. Sylas's build is miles ahead of Cleaver's, even though Cleaver got a kill, got first blood, actually. So, you know, gonna be good in the trades, I suppose, against the Sylas, but also Sylas is gonna get to a point where he's so tanky that he doesn't care that he's not healing slightly as much. So I'm not a big fan in the current meta.
I agree, because I think
getting this item.
I think that a lot of the value for Oblivion Orb comes from getting it very early as okay.
Yeah, it's a Kali. I mean,
it's a skirmishing item, and it's a great lane item. But as a Kali in this case, with the comp that they're running, how much are you going to get out of it in the time where it's relevant is the question. And I think the answer is not very much. Like, you're not actually going to stop that much goody healing here with this item. Now, in trades like this, can be impactful.
Yeah. As, you know, Cleaver is doing a little bit of damage, but again, okay, gonna go in once again here with Courage. Follow-up knock-up, and there is the ultimate coming out here from Cleaver, able to help his jungler clean up that fight, as Guti maybe overestimating just how strong he is at this point in the game.
It was all the Oblivion Orb. The Courage has just been here twice in a row on these critical trades. And his ultimate has been the game changer. Flash used this time to guarantee it. Guti's flash still off cooldown, or on cooldown rather, still a few seconds till that comes off cooldown. And we're just seeing this aggressive play time and time again kind of fall on its face for the side of Live Sandbox. You know, we saw rotation over for Vincenzo topside, disjointed. This rotation over for Vincenzo disjointed and late. No ult here. Really easy for the knockups to guarantee the kill for Cleaver. Well, assist he picks up in this case. Courage will pick up the kill.
Yeah, it was actually Guti trying to ult away. I thought it was Cleaver trying to ult in for damage on second Akali ult on R2, but it wasn't the case. And yeah, it's going to be pretty nice. It's going to allow the Akali to catch up a little bit in some of this itemization. Also, Courage is super strong. I've been really impressed by him. I feel like there has been a pretty decent-sized jungle gap for almost every game in the series, like at least 2.5.
Yeah,
I would say, like a little bit less so in game 2, but games 1 and 3 especially, like he has been putting on a show in the jungle matchup.
Even in the game we casted him last week, you know, he was their best player and had the most consistent performance. I really do think he is one of the players to look at right now in challengers in terms of just the raw talent, right? And showcasing it one more time. Whereas we weren't that thrilled with Vincenzo last week, and I think he's made some big strides even in just 1 week's time of play here, but still it's just coming up a little bit empty. Sejuani often does just get outpaced in these games too. We saw it with Klid's game on Hanwha Life yesterday as Lancer.
Here we go again. But again, it can be very difficult to get on top of this. He kind of messes up the angle, but again, Vincenzo is not able to get in the right position. Probably not expecting Lancer to ult that way, but obviously not the gank you were looking for from the Sejuani. As Daihak and Vincenzo just cannot make it work together.
Yeah, they just really aren't. They just really aren't synced. Sejuani ult going wide there is the most egregious part of this, unfortunately. But yeah, Lancer gets out here. Does have to use his flash. Still a significant win in that regard, but
so does Daihak.
Yeah, so it's like it's a trade of flashes, and there's no plates or anything. He's just going to hit this turret. By the time that the wave crashes, Lancer's going to pick it up. So no real significant or permanent damage done here. It's a cannon wave as well. So yeah, no teleport expended. And what do they get from this cross map? Nothing really. So if this is cleaner and he dies, then maybe you get the turret, and you know, or maybe you could stick around and set up for some more vision bottom side as the Drake is spawning in 1 minute. But trade and flashes. Vincenzo's ult will be up for the fight, but I just want to see a little bit of tightening up of that top jungle.
Is this the new LCK channel? No, this is the Challenger League of the LCK, so it is the minor leagues, if you will. And any of these players can be playing in the LCK any of the days if a team decides to play them in the LCK. The rosters are technically connected, but for the most part, they'll keep them separate unless one of the players that's playing in the LCK is really doing poorly and they decide to make a change. So yeah, this is like Division 2. LCK is Division 1. This is not the LCK stream necessarily, but it is LCK Challenger League. So again, seeing a lot of questions about that, so I thought I'd throw that out there.
Yeah. We do suggest you follow it and you know, join us for the matches tonight, tomorrow, and of course weeks to come. We do only broadcast the Monday, Tuesdays. I know we're doing a little bit of the explain-a-reno on that one for a while, but just want to make sure people know is Daihak is going to have to hook shot out of here, and that's going to be 2 Drakes to Kwangdong Freaks. And
is it going to be Jeff Soul? What do you think?
Well, it's a pretty good chance.
It's Jeff Soul. When I said it, I'm like, nah, it's probably not going to be Jeff Soul, but it was. For you guys who don't know, in Challenger League, the Tech Drake is named Jeff.
In Challengers only?
Yeah, only in Challengers. So Jeff Soul, he is back.
They are going to get this bottom turret. I was going to point out that before this happened, they could have tried to push Guti into a top side play while the Drake was being taken because there was no contest and they had vision of basically everyone and they knew where everyone was. Guti decided not to TP but to head mid, so missed that opportunity there. And despite coming mid, doesn't actually stop this Herald from taking the turret out, crashing through. So some macro improvements that could be made here, I think, in terms of the cross-map play. And it's also a Silas with his Rod of Ages nearly fully stacked against an Akali. It's not like, if Akali was there, which she was not, now that she is there, it's not like he's going to be under major threat. So we'd like to see a little bit more of that. On the side of Live Sandbox, out of Goody specifically here, is to see if Cleaver can be that threat.
Yeah. The Observer here was highlighting, of course, Observer being Yundo. He was highlighting the fact that Diablo's hit 2 items already. He's got a Ceres complete compared to Bo, who only has an item and a half. He is working with the Rage Knife at this point in time, not yet at the Rage Blade, as the on-hit Varus for the 3rd time in a row in this series.
Yeah. See if that ends up being impactful because, you know, right now the lead is significant for Kwangdong Freaks, but I think in terms of team fighting here, the composition is so strong for Live Sandbox with the front line they have.
Plan B wanting to go in there. He's looking for some help from his team. That was about 7 years too early, but it's okay. Love the effort, but this Cassante is getting a lot of value down. as there is Cleaver into the back line. He is actually quite fed. Diehuck trying to frontline here as well. He's going to go down to Bull, who once again is just totally untouched. You can see that Diablo, he's on this backside. He's got that 2-item spike here on the Ezreal. He's doing a good job of kiting as Lancer is trying to put an end to this one. In goes Plan B, and a huge Ezreal ultimate just going to line up for him, as now it's Diablo who's looking to carry this one. Cassante will in fact be killed, and Diablo just barely is going to get this last one, as it is Sejuani's full of Ezreals, and Liv Sandbox win the fight.
This is exactly what I was talking about leading into this, is they're going to try to start this Baron up here. Diablo very low. If they juggle this,
7,000 damage.
Yeah,
from Diablo.
If they juggle this perfectly, I still don't think it's reasonable, especially considering the TP. So thankfully they did back out. Cleaver might have picked up a double.
Well, you could have just. Okay, no, they're fine.
It's okay. This fight, we're gonna skip the beginning part of it where Leona went in 1v5 without anybody. Silas is dead. This is literally Diablo only. Vincenzo getting so much value to that Aftershock rune in this fight. Extremely difficult to kill. And Diablo just keeps hitting these Qs. If he misses any of these, actually, the fight looks very different because he actually doesn't get that cooldown reduction, starts to lose that momentum. Plan B going in one more time gets that huge proc of the Glacial Augment, and that's just enough slows here to keep Diablo safe. As Lancer tries his best, he's like, I'm swing it on him. And then Sejuani procs one more of those stuns, and he gets out. Like, that was extremely close to him going down for so many different reasons, but he just kept hitting the Qs, and he's like, got my 2-item spike. Your Rage Blade's done now, Bull, but wasn't there just moments before. And you see the big dip in the gold difference here for Kwangdong Freak. So much money going over the Liv Sandbox. No Baron, of course, though.
Catch the Akali, but that's not going to work. And yeah, this focus is going to be on to this Baron, especially because it is Jeff's soul. Unfortunately, Jeff, he's just not the coolest Drake on the block. Like, not a lot of people like him. So instead, we're just going to fight next to the Baron, which is pretty nice. Vincenzo, a pretty good engage this time around. Not too early, but the massive double Cyclone into the backline as the Akali is just going to execute everybody. And this time around, no hope for the Ezreal, as he just got wombo comboed with everybody else.
Yep. Courage just rolling around the team fight. Just a big Cyclone bot in this game, but it's all he needs to do. It's all he needs to do. And Liv Sandbox positioning on this one, not quite as nuanced as it was in the previous fight. As look at where Guti is, or isn't. By the time he tries to engage, he goes straight into the Cyclone and is knocked up. Tries to get on top of Bull afterwards a second time. And Bull's just like, I have Immortal Shield Bow,
Yeah.
I have my team, you're alone.
The double Cyclone was just so much value, like it was way too much. Like, CC score just went through the roof after that one for Courage. Like, he's getting my POG 100%.
Oh, yeah.
I don't care how
No
fed this
question.
Akali gets. I don't care what Bull does. He has just done way too much.
I mean, not only in these fights, but just in the early game. He also shadowed Lancer very well in the early game. We did see that one mess up on the... All right.
I can't.
The Ezreal Steel. Now, if it were a significant Drake, as the Chronicler said yesterday, it's an insignificant Drake. It's very true. If it were a significant Drake, we would have been like, oh, we got a little bit hyped over that. But this is just kind of like, all right, cool story, bro. We're moving on.
Yeah.
Because the game state doesn't change too much from the steal. Does help slow down Kwangdong getting a soul, but again, the soul not that critical in this game. Still good attempt to steal. Those raw stats actually can be significant here in this game, especially when you consider the Tom Kench equation. But yeah, ultimately not that big of a deal. The Baron buff, not going to be stopped by this either. As you see, the top turret goes down, inner bottom side going down. I think for this to work out for Liv Sandbox, they need to stave off this pressure for the next 80 seconds without losing any inhibitor turrets. I think that is feasible, considering the drafts here in the comp. They could just make sure they don't take any big permanent damage here. They get some upcoming team fights. The wacky thing about this, because of the soul itself, like in a perfect world where we're thinking about this game, like from our bird's eye view, the next fight that Liv Sandbox can probably take and that they want to take is actually going to be Baron. The next Drake spawns in 3:30, so it's going to be coming up first. but they don't really need to fight for it, especially because they stole one away. So in theory, in 45 seconds, we should be entering a very boring lull state. With, I mean, there's no turrets even to defend here for Live Sandbox. They could just let the waves come.
I mean, based off of what I've seen, these teams kind of just fight whenever they want to.
Yeah, like I said, in a perfect world, okay? In a perfect world.
Just for no reason, Vincenzo's like, you know what? I'm going in. Plan B, the same. It's like, I see the enemy. I think I want to attack them. And that is kind of the thought process, or at least what it looks like.
Trade turret for turret here for Inner. I think this is absolutely the way you want to play this as Live Sandbox.
Of course.
5 manning with Baron for this, no flank angle for Lancer. And you grab a turret, then you slow this down and defend this inhibitor. He can go trade inhibitor for inhibitor. Somebody needs to go back and defend. You don't need all of these people for this push.
He's like, yeah, cool. I mean, I've got hook shot.
There's the TP.
There you go. So he's going to get a TP away, and now they can just engage, although Lancer is nice. That chain is going to miss on a Plan B, but Plan B is really just the engage guy, as they are trying to get onto Courage, who has been left out to dry. Plan B still somehow alive, as now Dahyuk just going for the wraparound here. They will take down Courage, and keep in mind, Kwangdong were the team that had Baron, and they were supposed to be in control, and they were supposed to have push potential and macro and be winning. That's not what happened.
Supposed to... You know, these are words that we need to learn to avoid. Yunar still...
Sorry.
Because I said, like I said, remember I said a perfect world. They go to a lull state.
Supposed to isn't real in Challenger.
Like, the word supposed, I like, but supposed to, you know? If you say supposed to, then... Yeah.
So who do you think wins from here, Wolf?
I'm still feeling like Live Sandbox has a good chance. And this is 6,000 gold down. This is my original pred going into game 3, like before we went into it. Sorry, I just kicked you.
It's okay.
I had to sit up and get back focused because now I got stakes. Okay, there's stakes on this game now, and. Like, this is the lull state I was talking about. You know, we still got 80 seconds left on that Baron.
Look at Vincenzo. He's like, I'm ready. I'm ready to press my buttons.
Dahyuk's TP is coming back up, and so he could keep pushing this.
They can't handle his split push. They're like, wait, what's that?
Macro?
What do we do? How do we... Wait, is he just allowed to push? What is this champion?
I think a lot of the awkward situations here that Kwangdong are facing is that their comp's wave clear is very weird. Like, it's not great, and they have an Akali on the side. So if Bull is like their best chance of dealing with these minions, and he has to be mid, and when they try to collapse onto Camille, she's Camille, so you can just hookshot away, so punishing this is very difficult. This is one of the weaknesses of Cassante, is he doesn't deal with split pushing champions very well. Oh, right before the objective.
Yeah, and even if he hit it, it was just Sejuani, so it's not like they were going to get onto him. He has a Thornmail and a Radiant Virtue. He is a pretty thick piggy as it does come down to it. The Cyclone this time, once again, kind of overextending to try to make this one work. This is looking pretty good for Live Sandbox. Cleaver extremely low on the backside. Diablo just going to let him go, as now he can just press the issue forward, and there is no front line, just a total rout here from Kwangdong. Everybody is on the run. So Live Sandbox take another fight.
Caster Blessing over here. Just telling you guys.
Wolf knows.
I mean, like, these two comps, I'm starting to make these predictions based on what do I think happens when we go to a late game where neither team has a massive advantage. And, like, yeah, we were talking about 6,000 gold lead, but in terms of 80 carries, Diablo's sitting pretty, right? And he's got tanks that have stats. Like, they have some items and they have their base stats, and that's sometimes how it's going to go when everybody just kind of smashes into each other.
Right.
Here we go. The flank angle is real for Cleaver and Lancer.
Yeah, Cleaver is back up. They're going to try to take the fight afterwards. No way to steal this one. They do have Cassante and Akali, but Cleaver's not really getting too much damage done. I think he did hit that shuriken, though. He gets back in onto the Ezreal somehow, and Lancer's tanking it up a nice amount, but Dahyuk just going to shut down that Akali, and now Guti is back into the fight. So desperation for Kwangdong as everything slips out of their fingers.
A messy fight on both sides. Diablo E'd onto an Akali, which made me very sad.
Extra damage, you know?
Extra damage,
I want to
yes.
see what happens to Bull in this fight. Like, how does he not just get devoured and live?
It's too split.
So is
from
Tom
Andal.
Kench...
He's stopwatched.
Okay. There's, no, he got out, but then he got Hextech Ultimatum.
Yeah. This is what I was talking about. There's just too many threats for the Varus, and not enough ways to kill Ezreal. Ezreal decided to do a self-kill in that last fight. But it's okay, because he did a lot of damage, and then Gucci teleported back in, and there was enough staying power in the fight. So comp is very tanky. And now with Baron, this comp is insanely strong in a 4-1 or a 1-3-1. Like, Gucci could go bottom right now if he wanted to. Looks like he wants to stick with the team and just siege up this turret, but the shoe's on the other foot now. Dahyuk is level 18. He has a stopwatch and a Hex Drinker. It's very difficult to kill this guy.
It's clear that Kwangdong are like looking at the Camille and they're just like, is that a new champion? Like, I don't know, what does she do? How is she pushing the side lane so fast? It all seems to be a little bit of a mystery for them, as they are now very much on the back foot. Lancer, it looks like he is finally trying to match this, but it's a little bit too little too late. Like, Lancer doesn't die.
He dies,
but also, I guess maybe he does. He is able to ult out of the Hextech Ultimatum. No, he's just too tanky. The thing is that it doesn't matter. Like, he can sit there and tank,
well,
but
now
he's not going to stop the split push.
He's used his whole kit now, though, so he's completely useless in stopping the split push now. Yeah. Like, he cannot do anything. His all-out times out, and he's a buffed fruit. That's what I'm talking about.
You just called him the buffed fruit. I don't think Kasante's a buffed fruit. Not even sure what that means.
Not really, but look, he's got the Chemtech Soul Honey Fruit and healing up, but he still doesn't have his ultimate, so...
Did he steal Devour there? That was kind of interesting. Devoured his Sejuani. Okay, they're trying to get onto this Camille. Cleaver just took a second Q to the face from the said Camille. The poke going pretty well, actually. Liv Sandbox not committing to the fight, so they just kind of take a bunch of damage as they back away. So only the one inhibitor with this Baron so far.
Just the one, but one is massive. Like, I think as long as it's not mid inhibitor with the Chemtech Soul, which again is mostly irrelevant here, it's good enough because it means that you have one inhibitor on the opposite side of another inhibitor that Dahyuk can threaten, especially because that inhibitor turret is open. Mid inhibitor also open, but Dahyuk with TP can do a whole lot, having the lane that he's threatening being the opposite lane of the Baron, which is more relevant. They got the right inhibitor of the three to grab, so still pretty huge on the side of Liv Sandbox. They've actually taken a gold lead now for the first time this game at 600 gold. It's slight, but you could tell the hourglass has definitely been turned upside down, and the sand is running out a little bit here for Kwangdong Freaks.
Is it Liv Sandbox sand?
Yeah.
From the Liv Sandbox?
From the Liv Sandbox.
They
That's
use it in all of their games only? He tried to hook shot him. It didn't work.
Yeah,
I think
that's a good assessment of what happened, yes.
You can only hook shot onto walls and structures and stuff, so just so you guys know.
So he's not playing Zelda in here.
Yeah.
It's not Link.
Alright, little siege here. The chains actually land onto Diablo, but he's got some pretty decent... No, he's going to get over the wall, but he will be dove into that backline. They take a ton of damage to get in there, and really, the biggest threat of this composition right now is the Camille.
No 80 carries anymore.
Yeah, Gucci and Dahyuk are going to be able to do this alone. Like, everybody got so out of position to try to take down the Ezreal that... Okay, does Lancer not die? Okay, okay, he's almost going to get away. No, he's going to go down. The teleport will come through, unfortunately for Cleaver. He was
Cleaver's
hoping...
like, please cancel it! Oh, no!
I think they tried to kill it, but not on time. Okay, looks like Liv Sandbox are going to take this series somehow, some way. Poor Courage, man. He had some huge plays in this game. It was not meant to be, though, as Liv Sandbox going to take down the two Nexus turrets and the aforementioned Nexus, as Courage, unfortunately, will also be taken down to his GA. GG, Liv Sandbox, get it done.
I feel pretty good about my 2-0 at this moment in time. Who do you think is going to win Preds here? Because overall, we will have to vote for POG because I was so sold on Courage, but he did not win the game.
Yeah.
So, overall, this game was very impressive by Live Sandbox because they figured out their win conditions, and it's really like I think a lot of people would vote for the Ezreal in this case, Diablo, because oh yeah, he did a lot of damage. Like he started helping turn this one around, but his positioning in a lot of those fights was actually not great, and he was punished many times. I think it was really the Camille side laning that forced some awkward fights for Kwangdong, and that's why they end up taking the L here in the end. But I think draft-wise, compositionally, in a perfect world, that Live Sandbox
We're gonna
had
have
the
to
better.
remove these from our from our dictionary.
Yeah, I think Live Sandbox had a better comp. They were so tanky that when you trade 80 carries, you win. Actually, you just win that one. Silas does long-term damage and is hard to kill. Akali does burst damage against tanks who don't die, and then CC her and kill her. So problematic, as Diablo did a lot of damage.
Yeah, he had multiple fights where he did like 7,000 damage, so kind of makes sense. It is Ezreal after all, but as you mentioned, you know, especially in the quite late-ish game we got to. I mean, we got to like 35 minutes. That last fight was probably at like 33-ish minutes. So at that point, you know, your Camille's got 4 items, your Silas has got 4 items. They're going to be hitting like trucks. And if Bull is not in the fight, it's a huge amount of damage lost on the side of Kwangdong. Like, Wukong's not going to do much. Obviously, the K'Sante doesn't do much either. And Akali just cannot stand up to the two of them. So you were right, Wolf. Your prediction came true, and Liv Sandbox pulled it through in the end.
I think that, like, we have to honor this player as well, Diablo. Just to remind everyone who didn't watch either earlier when I mentioned this or last week when we talked about it a lot, but the kid's 15.
Yeah.
Somebody joked in chat, they called him El Diablo back in college. The boy is 15. And he's one of the youngest players that is playing in any academy system across the world. He also started playing when he was 13 in a lot of amateur leagues before actually getting picked up. So he's been around for a long time. He's shown his potential quite a bit. And
back in elementary school. Yeah.
He's one of those players that if he sticks with it and continues to grow, because he's been quote unquote in the system for so long, like he's actually had wise people around him telling him how to play, how to improve. He could be, when he enters the LCK, a great player. Now,
There you go.
Dahyuk will get the POG because this makes more sense. I just wanted to honor our new young player who had a big turnaround in this series, especially after having a really big struggle against T1 last week.
Yeah, I had that one really big team fight as well, but Dahyuk just did a little bit too much. You know, I was making a lot of jokes about the split pushing, but in part, it was, you know, they couldn't really handle it because, you know, Kwangdong could feel the game kind of slipping away from them, and they really didn't have an answer for the Camille in the side lane. So it's like, ooh, either we force a fight or Dahyuk is just going to rip our base apart, and they, you know, it's a challenger team. They couldn't quite get it together. They could not figure out what was the best way to handle it, and Dahyuk essentially, from the mid-game onward, just made too much winning happen for his team. So that's why he does pick up the POG here.
And since you kind of broke it down really nicely, I'll just add and continue the tradition that I do think he could do something more with his hair. I think it's not really, his bangs are too long. It doesn't actually bring out his very strong eyebrows. You could see clearly in this image.
Yeah.
I feel like he's keeping them a little bit under wraps. So I'd like to see a change maybe going into the summer season for a new profile pick and some...
Okay.
Just a little bit, you know, off the top there,
I think
potentially.
his glasses are pretty cool.
No,
He's
the
got
glasses...
some style.
Yeah,
you know?
no, the glass is top tier.
So he's got that going for him. There will be an interview on stage. If you guys can understand Korean, you can hop over to the Korean stream if you want to watch that. Make sure you keep it locked here, though, for the global broadcast. And yeah, that was the first best of 3. We do have 2 more today. I believe it's KT Rolster up against Brion.
That's our next one.
And
Third
DRX.
one, DRX
versus
against
Hamaleif Esports.
Hanwha. That's right. I keep thinking D plus Kia is playing today, but they're not. They're playing tomorrow.
Yeah, like T1, D plus Kia,
Nongshim.
Nongshim, they're all playing tomorrow. So if you want to watch those incredible team, make sure you also tune in tomorrow.
Tomorrow has better games than today, but all the games are equal and awesome. Positivity in the challengers. But tomorrow's games are good.
All games are created equal.
A scrappy game like the series we just watched, though, is sometimes the most fun, right? Because we might see some more classic LCK-esque gameplay at tomorrow's games, you know, and I already watched a week of that in the LCK. I want to get my challengers fixed, you know?
It was really fun.
Will you see a three-man Ione ult tomorrow? I don't think so.
No, I don't think that's going to happen. Yeah, Challengers really does bring in some of the more interesting solo queue-esque vibes. So I know you guys do enjoy it at home as well. Make sure you tell your friends this is going on. We got a new stream here. It is, as you can see, LCK CL Global 2023. We are also on YouTube. So if you want to watch there, you can watch there as well.
Same URL minus the 2023. Just copy paste that out of your Twitch URL if that's where you're watching. You can find it on YouTube if you prefer to watch on that platform.
Morgan will not play for Bro later. This is Challenger League. This is essentially Tier 2 below the LCK. So no, Morgan is not going to be playing in the Challenger League.
The YouTube chat, you know, it's definitely different. It hits different. I think we do need a little bit more.
It does hit a little bit different, yeah. It's true. It's got a different vibe over there.
Sometimes I don't really know what it means, and sometimes the questions I see in the YouTube chat, I'm not sure if I'm getting trolled or if they're serious, but we like to answer all the questions seriously. Well, I was gonna say something else about I promise you guys we will make an effort to get GigaChad enabled on this channel.
Yeah.
But that's not up to us. There is a higher power, an organization, and a Korean esports association, if you will, that kind of is in charge of these types of things, and they may or may not enable GigaChad, but we will bring it up because I know there's been a lot of people asking about it, and some other
it's very important.
Some other emotes that people want to see in our chat, and we do want to elevate the chat experience because it's very important to us too. But I'm not promising that it's going to happen, but I will promise you that we will see what we can do. And I'm also telling you it's definitely not going to happen in time for this best of 3 that's about to happen because that's happening in like
a little bit too quick.
30 minutes. So
yeah,
possibly even sooner. So just bear with us on that one, though. The Twitch chat is made better by you guys. So use your imagination. And I think anyone who's above Gold League actually can see the GigaChad emote in the channel. If you can't see it, it means you're below Gold.
I
but
noticed
that's okay.
there are a lot of people that cannot see GigaChad. That's understandable. You know, a lot of
we
people
want to get it
nowadays.
enabled for you guys too, but you know,
now people nowadays they're fanatical watchers of the League of Legends. Maybe don't play as much anymore. They're probably Gold level. Like if they played, but
so make sure you
they
link
play
your League of
ARAM
Legends
every once in a while.
link your League of Legends account to Twitch, and that's how you can see it.
Yeah, we need to verify.
If you are above Gold and your account is linked and you still can't see it, it means your region is actually like below it means like you're diamond on NA, but it actually doesn't count.
It's only silver in Korea, so unfortunately.
No, I'm just kidding, by the way, guys. Like, please don't take me seriously.
Yes, this is of course the positive community that is the Challenger League.
I'm sorry, guys. We're just trolling.
Region locked.
We got to buy time for the interview to finish before we close here. So
you think Dahyuk is a man of many words or a man of few words? What is your thought? Just upon seeing his hair.
I think. Well, I was gonna base it on his play. Based on his hair, I would say like few words. But based on his play, I would say he probably has a lot to say because I think he made some really good decisions that game and. A lot of the disjointedness between him and Vincenzo, I think, was more on Vincenzo than it was on him, and I think his side laning saved the game. So, I think he probably actually has a lot to say about the team comp and what he was trying to accomplish to buy time to get them back into a winnable game state.
Can you stop the cringe spam, please? Okay, I found our first KT fan in the chat here, Carotid Brain. Shout out there. That makes one of you so far.
I like the username.
Who are some of the prospects in LCK CL? Definitely, we were looking at some of the players on D plus Kia.
Lucid.
Lucid is insane. Pulbay also insane, but he's behind Showmaker. Thanatos, their top laner, also really good. Smash from T1, really, really strong.
Bout from T1, looking very good too.
Dahl also strong.
Yeah.
Very reliable top laner from
Dahl
T1.
seems good. Who else? Courage.
Courage was good.
We just saw. I think is a big standout player to me that I'm thinking about right now.
Diablo, give him 2 more years. Like, who knows? Like, that's definitely one guy you could look out for as a prospect because he has so much time before he actually is even allowed to play in a pro league.
Yeah.
You know, if he continues to get better, it's probably going to be in a good spot.
Yeah, no doubt. No soup just yet, but I think we are about to close.
Yeah, looks like we are ready to take a break, guys. So we're going to take about 20-30 minutes, and we will be back with KT versus Bro. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
제압되었습니다. 남은